Oh, but he's back. He's the cat behind the mask. Hey, hey, Wolfpack, we're back with another surprise tier list. But hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. Didn't we already do this tier list? Well, yes, we did. It's our first ever new tier list update. We're going back to one of the old franchises to do a fixed modern version of the Friday the 13th tier list. Yep, we're back. Again, yes, this time we have all the fan films. Got Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, Never Hike Alone 2, and the new recent release, Sweet Revenge. Yep, gonna be counting the new quote-unquote Friday the 13th movies, the modern day ones, and all the classics once again. This will be a tier list fresh for any of our new subscribers or newbie viewers who weren't here the last time we did this tier list, but I figured, hey, why the heck not? I see the fan film entries this time. Yep, they're all here. The Never Hike trilogy and Sweet Revenge. So, Friday the 13th finally sorted out its copyright issues, and they gave us a new short film, Sweet Revenge, which we have plenty to say on, but yeah, Friday the 13th seems like it's back. They're making new Jason content and starting the Jason cinematic universe. Allegedly, there's going to be a prequel show with Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom, as a main protagonist, but no word on if it's ever getting released yet. It's Wednesday the 10th, though. Not here, it's the 9th, but yeah, gonna be talking about all the Jason saga. Yes, we did do this tier list, but now we're doing a modern, updated version, now including the fan films and the current release, Sweet Revenge. Sweet Revenge is now available on YouTube, highly recommend checking it out, making sure all my equipment works, yeah, looks like it does. Gonna be ranking all the Jason movies, old and new, up here on this tier list, from top best to bottom worst. So, let me go over the rules if this is your first tier list ever. I'll be ranking each and every Jason movie, all the classics, and the newer entries, the ones people consider a part of the franchise, up here on this tier list ranking. They all have unique slots this time, so we have our top best and bottom worst. Up top, we have Uber Jason. These ones are awesome. Perfect Friday the 13th movies, horror classics, the best this franchise has to offer. Yeah, they're not technically masterpieces by any stretch of the imagination, but I consider them this franchise's highlights, and we will probably see a lot up here, because Jason has a lot of good movies. Underneath that, we have Awesome Party. These ones are good, not great. They have a lot of good going for them, a lot of golden moments, a lot of highlights, a lot of stuff fans love, but a flaw or two here and there, some nitpicks, some things I don't like, almost perfect, but didn't quite fully make it. Nonetheless, these are golden Friday the 13th movies. Hey, Monica, not sure if you were here the last time. In the middle, we have Average Friday. Speaks for itself. These ones, mid, okay, mediocre. They're fine. They're Silver Skull movies. Had a lot of good going for them, but also an equal amount of bad. They fall right smack in the middle. Not perfect Friday the 13th movies, but also not total failures. Underneath that, we have You're Doomed. These ones, the weak ones, the lame ducks, the forgettable Friday the 13th movies. These ones might have a few good moments, some silver linings here and there, but overall, not a perfect Jason movie. They could have been so much better, but weren't awful enough to be worse. Speaking of which, down at rock bottom, we have Goes to Hell. Speaks for itself, the Fs, the 0 out of 10s, the lamest of the lame, the worst Friday the 13th movies ever. And tragically, we might see a few faces down here. If you're familiar with my last tier list on this, you know exactly who we're gonna put down here. But yeah, awful, awful Jason movies. Fitting how the worst tier is Goes to Hell. Yep, felt appropriate. I'm glad to be here to see the most horniest horror movies ranking. Yeah, Friday the 13th is great, so I did explain this last tier list, but if you're new here or just joining us, new subscribers, Friday the 13th is a franchise that has had its ups and downs. We mostly follow the Voorhees family. Mrs. Voorhees is the killer of the first movie, but her son Jason pretty much became the face of this franchise. Jason was once an abnormal kid who went to camp. He died drowning, but his spirit still haunts Crystal Lake, and he comes back to terrorize new victims, idiot teenagers, foolish citizens around Crystal Lake, and party people come to Crystal Lake only to stumble upon Jason. Jason is now a fully grown, sometimes immortal, supernatural slasher killer. Goes around killing people, he wants to be left alone, and we have a lot of fun in this franchise with all the cliches, all the new ideas, and some of the bad ideas. So, Jason is easily the most simplest killer. He's a crazy, lunatic, supernatural killer who lives in the forest. He just wants to be left alone, horribly traumatized by his past, and people pretty much trigger him. He goes on a completely demented killing spree, slashing people, murdering people, killing a lot of people who remind him of his dark and troubled past, and basically there's always a final girl, sometimes final guy, Tommy Jarvis being his best arch nemesis, who fights Jason and defeats him by the end of his movie, and usually a twist ending revealing that he's still kicking. But yeah, really dumb fun franchise. It's not high art by any stretch of the imagination. Has a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun, a lot of gore, a lot of hot chicks, a lot of sex scenes, a lot of cool guys who get killed, and a lot of fun, creative makeup behind the slasher kills. I believe Tom Savini actually got his start in this franchise. It's had a very long run. Jason has had the most horror movies of any slasher killer, next to Michael Myers and Freddy, of course, but a lot of fun stuff with Jason. His formula did get stale, and they would try new things, and we'll be going over those new things, but Jason is due for a comeback. Apparently Sweet Revenge is now most recent reboot, but have a lot to say on all of these films. Dumb fun, Jason is cool, a lot of great kills, and a lot of wacky characters, high points and low moments, and we'll be going over all of them as we talk about this tier list. Hey, Monica, glad you made it. Alright, so you all know the drill. Let's start this tier list with the first ever Friday the 13th, the 1980 classic. Friday the 13th, Part 1, going on to Average Friday. Yeah, I know, blasphemy, that cat is gonna pay. You're all gonna chant Jason to come after me. Alright, so I think the first Friday the 13th is fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay. It is not one of my all-time favorite horror movies ever, and honestly, I do not think it's one of the top 5 of this franchise. It's got a lot of good moments, a lot of scary moments. This is a pretty scary movie, a lot of grueling atmosphere, creepy moments, the feeling of isolation at Camp Crystal Lake, and Betsy Palmer, easily the highlight of this movie. However, it is very slow, it's lackluster, kind of an average horror movie, all things considered. It's not very deep or compelling, and Alice is not one of my favorite final girls ever. I find Alice so boring. I didn't feel anything when she died in Part 2. Alice is the final girl in this, and it's only because everyone else gets killed by Pamela Voorhees. So, it's got a lot of legendary moments too. This does have the famous jump scare, Jason coming out of the lake, his rotting corpse. Jason is technically not in this movie, he's a posthumous character. The twist is his mom is actually the killer, but they kinda cheat because Mrs. Voorhees wasn't actually a character in the film. She shows up in the final act and reveals that she was behind all the murders. It's good, but not great. There's better sequels. Yeah, way better sequels. He drowned because a couple of counselors decided to get busy when he was near the water. How irresponsible. Yeah, so Jason died because the counselors were too busy making love. They were like having sex while Jason was supposed to be watched at all times. They never outright say it, but it's implied that Jason was mentally challenged. He was an artard. He was disabled. He couldn't comprehend normal things. He tried to prove himself by swimming in the lake. This would get retconned later, but yeah, he went for a swim and he drowned. He couldn't swim. He couldn't take care of himself. And the counselors didn't notice, Jason tragically died drowning, and Mrs. Voorhees is actually a grieving mother, going out on a killing spree out of revenge for the death of her son to make sure that this never happens again. But it's very clear Mrs. Voorhees is very far gone. She is completely insane. Betsy Palmer's performance is the highlight of this movie, and a big reason why a lot of people like it, because Mrs. Voorhees, really creepy, savage, psycho serial killer. She really knocks the crazy angle out of the park and actually makes you feel sympathy for her. Yeah, she gives a really emotional performance and scary too. Though the movie is kind of slow. For the longest time, we don't see who the killer is. They try to build up the big reveal, but it's a character we never meet prior. I'm glad to be here to see the most horniest horror movie rankings. It's good, but not great. There's better sequels. Didn't Pamela Voorhees work in Camp Blood? Yeah, she was the cook. That was when the camp was originally open. The camp is getting reopened in this movie like years later, and Mrs. Voorhees doesn't want it to ever open again. There's like a death curse surrounding it. Mrs. Voorhees has been behind the scenes sabotaging attempts at reopening the camp because she doesn't want anyone to suffer the way she has and is still mourning the loss of her child, clearly gone crazy after years of not having Jason in her life. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing today? AV Scorpio, we're fine. And yet somehow Jason can swim now. Well, he walks underwater, so I'm not sure if that counts as swimming. How is he able to swim now? Because Jason's a deadite. Yeah, that is actually canon to this franchise now. Good question. And still a better not Jason killer than the one coming up later. Yeah, we'll get to Roy soon enough. Okay, so honestly, I think this movie is fine. It's never been one of my favorite movies. I think it gets slow. I think the counselors are not interesting. A lot of them are pretty bland. Everyone knows Kevin Bacon's in this movie, but when you get down to it, he doesn't really have any character. He's literally like one of the first few kills. Alice, not one of my favorite final girls. She's just bland, boring, and kind of stupid. She has like so many times to, lock up Mrs. Voorhees, kill her, or, at least restrain her, take away her weapons, but never does. Mrs. Voorhees gets like knocked out 3 times, and it isn't until the fight on the beach where she finally beheads her. Yeah, Mrs. Voorhees beheading, still a pretty cool effect. She like gets graphically sliced her head off. Yeah, Mrs. Voorhees gets beheaded at the end of the movie. Alice goes swimming on the canoe. I don't know why, I guess to feel safer, but yeah. Get that cool jump scare of child Jason jumping out of the lake and drowning her, and we see it was all just a dream, and yes, these twists would get very confusing later on, but yeah. And it turns out that that boy is still down there. The police never found his body, hinting that Jason's soul is still out there and setting up the sequel. But honestly, I think it's fine. It's fine. It's like a Silver Skull if I actually did give a review to this movie. Kind of like a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's easily the most generic of the Friday the 13th movies. Betsy Palmer, easily the MVP, best character. There is some good scares, very high suspense, uneasy tension, and really solid atmosphere. The camp actually does feel like a fun setting in this one. I think part 2 actually made it better, but yeah, there's kind of an unnerving dread that the killer could be anywhere and it could be anyone. A lot of good kills in this, admittedly. Yeah, Kevin Bacon getting skewered under the bed. That one still surprises and scares me. The girl getting killed in the shower. We never see how one of the counselors gets killed in the archery range. I think Brenda was her name. She like gets shot by arrows, which was foreshadowed earlier. And the guy who got impaled to the door by arrows shooting at him. That was a pretty graphic kill. So yeah, a lot of highlights, but also an equal amount of drawbacks. This is not an blow your mind horror thriller, but definitely a dumb fun murder mystery type of story. I will put it onto Average Friday. Fun fact, in the book, the monkey, the characters throw away the killer toy to a lake where all the fishes die, and the lake is called Crystal Lake. That is cool. Coincidence? I think not. Alright, let's get to the good stuff with Friday the 13th Part 2. And this one going on to S tier. Yeah, going on to Uber Jason. There we go. Yeah, I love this movie. Part 2, easily the scariest of the Friday the 13th movies. I know a lot of people prefer some of the later sequels, but to me, this one, easily the creepiest of the Jason movies. Jason is finally the killer, and he's become kind of an urban legend around Crystal Lake. So, they're finally reopening the summer camp again, this time moving the construction to a completely different site to erase the memories of Mrs. Voorhees' killing spree. It's years later, Alice gets punk killed in the beginning. I was honestly not sad to see her go, I just did not care for her. But yeah, Alice is killed to show you that nobody is safe, and we meet a whole new bunch of counselors, and this movie's instantly better because the counselors all have actual character and are interesting. One of my favorite final girls, Ginny. Love Ginny, she is awesome. A lot of fun, quirky characters with admittedly one-note personas, but hey, that's much deeper character than the first group had. And Jason, really creepy. I actually do like Sackhead Jason. I jokingly call him Klansman Jason because he kind of looks like an old school KKK guy. Jason's now a creepy mountain man hiding in the woods and continuing on his mother's work and legacy by killing people coming to Crystal Lake. Jason wants to be left alone. He's still crying for his mom, and he apparently somehow found Pamela's severed head and made a shrine out of it. Yes, this does have the infamous Pamela Voorhees shrine. Her severed head is placed on a table surrounded by candles. Jason is still mourning her and believing that she's still talking to him, compelling him to kill people. Would it be better if Jason would be in the first one and was taking commands from his alive mom? Probably not, because we'd have to see a child actor for Jason, and some people don't like child Jason. Definitely a better sequel. Yeah, absolutely love part 2. There are some hardcore kills in this movie. I do love the kills. They are pretty gruesome. Jason impaling the couple having sex together on one spear. The wheelchair guy getting a cleaver to the face and being thrown down the flight of stairs. That one was pretty darkly hilarious. And, oh yeah, we also get a lot of hot chicks in this one. We do get some more sex scenes. A girl, takes her clothes off. Ginny is shown in her underwear. A lot of swimsuit scenes. Terry, instant fan favorite. We see her butt a few times, and yes, she does go skinny dipping, guys. I was kind of disappointed by her kill, though. She's, killed by a jump scare shot. She's, zoomed in on, and then we cut to Ginny and the others hanging out at the bar. This one, I think, is actually pretty cool. Really uneasy tension. Crazy Ralph even dies, and I think his death was a lot more hard-hitting than Alice's. I did not care for Alice. Crazy Ralph, though, that was kind of a surprise. He gets jumped and strangled by barbed wire. The sheriff's death, easily one of the most hardcore moments of the film. It's a very cool scene. The sheriff is chasing Jason down, finds the iconic Jason's cabin. He looks into the closet and sees the shrine, but we never see it, so his reaction really says a lot of horror, and then Jason hammered times him from behind. Alice is no Laurie Myers. No, she is not. Okay, so this one, the weakest part is the twist ending. As you know, there's a final showdown at Jason's cabin. Ginny undergoes one of the most tense Scooby-Doo chases of the entire franchise. Yeah, I do love Ginny being chased by Jason. It's very scary. She's completely alone. Jason finally face reveals himself. We see Klansman Jason. Yeah, I do find him kind of creepier because there's an attempt to make Jason a little more realistic. They're implying that he's still a living guy at this point. This is not zombie Jason. This is kind of mysterious Jason. Jason is a total hunter in this, and it absolutely shows throughout this movie. We constantly get shots of him hiding in the trees, his first-person point of view, watching people from afar, and a lot of creative shots of Jason stalking the campers. I love the scenes of his shadow passing by buildings. That is effectively creepy. A good way to build up your villain. Jason eventually face reveals himself and fights Ginny and Paul. We're tricked into believing Paul died, but no, Ginny is running off into the forest, ends up at the cabin, and we get one of the best scenes of the franchise, Ginny using her child psychology and Mrs. Voorhees' sweater to cosplay as Pamela Voorhees and dupe Jason into letting his guard down and not killing her. Almost works, but Jason sees past it, and Paul shows up and saves the day. They make it back alive and well, and then, haha, jump scare of Jason jumping through the window, which also pretty creepy, though his face, not one of the best face reveals of Jason. Admittedly, we see better unmaskings of Jason. This one kind of looks like Jack Black with a deformed silly putty face. Not all that intimidating. And of course, that classic, "Where's Paul? Where's Paul?" All these years later, we don't know. I believe it's likely Paul is dead, but we never see how, which was kind of disappointing. But anyways, part 2, classic. I love this film. I think it's Jason at his creepiest. I think the studio did a good job at trying to make a scary summer camp slasher flick. A lot of excellent kills, excellent effects, excellent scares, and Ginny is one of the best characters in the franchise, best final girl in my opinion. Jason, at his most hardcore brutal in this, up until 2009, but I like Jason in this is a lot more anger prone, a lot more sadistic, and a total trap master. Guess that explains why he had all the bear traps in the video game, but yeah, love part 2, easily one of my favorites of all time. Going on to S tier. Jason appearing out of the bed is still a scary reveal. Yeah, that's right, he's like under the covers and jumps her. Kind of silly that he went under there in the first place, but yeah, still a pretty badass reveal. Isn't the camp on the other side of the lake? Yeah, that was the thing. They tried building Camp Crystal Lake again, but this time on a different side of the lake to erase the memories of the last Crystal Lake and Mrs. Voorhees' killing spree. Jason still lives there, and apparently they're in walking distance because they run all the way to Jason's cabin. Also, I remember that Jason survived being hanged. Does he just have a thick neck? That's in part 3. Okay, so to wrap up part 2, pretty good. Now let's get to Friday the 13th, part 3D. Did you say 3D? Yeah, this one going on to You're Doomed. Okay, I finally rewatched this film. Honestly, it's not too bad, but honestly, it is not a good Friday the 13th movie. It's the most standard, generic entry in the franchise. A bunch of teenagers go camping at Camp Crystal Lake, and Jason picks them off one by one. Yeah, that's kind of the basic description of this movie. It's literally the simplest, standard use of the Jason formula ever. However, this movie is held back by a ton of obnoxiously god-awful 3D effects. Yeah, I talked about it then, talking about it again. The 3D of this movie sucks. It really sucks. It's annoying, they overuse it, it's constantly in your face, and the effects are hilariously unimpressive. They're constantly like shoving things in the camera, throwing things at your face. Some of the Jason kills do look cool, but all the regular stuff like a yo-yo coming at you, the baseball bat, the TV antenna, the fake as hell snake where you can see the string, terrible, terrible. Yeah, this is the one where Jason gets hung and somehow survives. So, Chris is not one of my favorite final girls. She had an interesting story, but it's very much a polarizing topic among the Jason fandom. So, Chris and her friends are going camping in the woods. They're going to, I believe, Lake Higgins or something. Basically, it's across the pond on a different side of Crystal Lake. Jason is recovering from the beatdown he suffered in part 2, and strangely gets a whole new body in this. We do get the bald-headed Jason. Jason gets his iconic hockey mask in this movie. He kills some dumbass prankster guy named Shelby. Yeah, Shelby is in this movie. Shelby is either a huge fan favorite or one of the most obnoxiously unlikable Friday survivors ever. Nobody likes Shelby in my area. I guess no matter where you're located, over the lake, under the lake, across the lake, or besides the lake, it still counts for Jason. Yeah, he even followed them all the way to New York City because the boat went past his lake. Yeah, it has the iconic use of Jason finally getting his hockey mask, but lots of things are let down, especially the 3D effects. Not to mention, some of the kills in this are pretty lame. They try to turn a lot of the kills into 3D effects. Some work, and some look terrible. Hey, again, yesterday I got book 1 of The Nightmare Room, Don't Forget Me, and read from chapters 1 to 5. How do you like it then, Saga? Okay, so Part 3, Jason basically picks off a bunch of random idiots and one-note characters. I did actually like the bikers. I thought they were fine. Fox being my favorite for obvious reasons. Yeah, she was really pretty. But Fox is sadly one of the first bikers to die. Jason is kind of hanging around a barn for almost the entirety of this movie, and yes, this movie is ultra cheap. They spent all their money on the 3D effects, and the set is this barn. It's a forest, an empty barnyard area, and it gets stale really fast. We never see Jason's face this time, which does not work because we already saw him unmasked in part 2. But part 3, Jason gets the iconic hockey mask in this one. He kills Shelby. Shelby has a comedy death in this version, which did not really work for me because wouldn't you be able to tell he was dead? But no, Shelby's the annoying prankster. All of them get killed off, and Chris is eventually forced to face her fears, and this is kind of a big reason why a lot of hardcore Jason fans have issue with the movie. Chris might have been molested by Jason. She has like a deep, detailed backstory about how she suffers trauma. She's afraid to return to Camp Crystal Lake or the Crystal Lake area because once upon a time she ran away from home and was attacked by a creepy mountain man. Yeah, you'll never guess who this mountain man is. The mountain man assaulted Chris and might have done things to her. They leave it kind of ambiguous and vague, but it's implied Jason had his way with her, and she's confronting the trauma of what this guy did to her, and finding out that gasp, the creepy masked mountain man murdering all her friends and individuals is the exact same mountain man who attacked her in her flashback. Yeah, she's confronting her rapist, Jason, and it leads to a big fight between them, and Jason is at his most lame in this climax. Jason gets easily duped, gets beaten up by Chris a lot, and takes a lot of damage. Yeah, this is the one where Jason actually gets hung from the barn, and he still survives, pretty much showing you that he's not human by this point. He gets beaten up, knocked down the stairs, has a bookshelf crush him, and he still keeps coming back for more. But as we all know, in the final showdown in the barn, he corners Chris, and he takes an axe to the face, giving him that iconic mark on his hockey mask. Yeah, this is also the movie that has Jason get the iconic slash on his mask. She, like, buries an axe into his head, and it chips the mask, and honestly, what I kind of like is that future movies did keep this detail in, that the mask got battle damage, and it has that chip, all the way up to, I believe, Freddy vs. Jason, where they took it out, but yeah. And Jason dies, except not really, it's implied he's still alive, and they redo the dream sequence, and it does not make any sense. Chris goes out into the lake. It's actually pretty creepy that we see Jason looking around the house for her, and he's coming after her, only to disappear, and then Mrs. Voorhees jumps out of the lake and grabs Chris, and this makes no sense. One, how did she get her head back? Two, she has no idea who Jason and Pamela Voorhees are, so why is she imagining the killer's mother coming after her? And three, it turns out she's actually alive, she just went crazy or something, and Chris goes to the nut house for the rest of her life, ending on a downer ending, and we loom in on Jason's corpse, questioning if he's alive or not, but it's pretty clear he is. Yeah, this one, lame duck, you're doomed, bad 3D effects, really lame kills, a lot of lazy characters in this one, and Chris, not a good final girl, not to mention the polarizing topic of sexual predator Jason, which is a really hot button for a lot of fans. Jason did that? Why would he be a rapist? That's out of character. That's exactly the problem a lot of fans have with this, that Jason would never have his way with anyone. Jason hates sex. Like, that's a big trigger for him. He kills people because teenagers having sex is what killed him. He should be the last killer who would ever want to have sex, but no, they wanted to have rapist Jason to add a sense of deep dramatic storytelling to a dumb slasher flick. Yeah, the 3D effects were awful. Very good. Okay, better than the TV version. That's no surprise, Saga. I know I missed the first one, but I know how the first film revealed that Mrs. Voorhees was the killer, not Jason. Yeah, that was iconic. We talked about this on last tier stream, so I'm trying to get through all the basic films. Don't worry, I might do Never Hike Alone after the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. Robot Chicken even made that reference when she and Jason went to legal and Mrs. Voorhees gets the films while Jason became a chef. Yeah, I love the Robot Chicken. Which franchise had a bigger downfall, Friday the 13th or Texas Chainsaw? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, easy. I do not like a lot of films from the Texas Chainsaw Saga. Mostly a lot of the sequels. That one has Matthew McConaughey as one of the Sawyer family killers. And a lot of unnecessary reboots, reboot calls, whatever, even a remake. The remake I thought was fine. Arlie Ermy is the only highlight, but I only love the first Texas Chainsaw movie. The rest, I do not like. I think they either suck or are just mediocre. Jason has a lot more movies I prefer. Isn't he supposed to kill rapists? Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw, easily the worst. Easily the worst, Tails. Okay, so to wrap up, part 3D is You're Doomed. Had some moments and ideas I liked, some characters that were interesting, but overall, it is a weak Friday the 13th film, and no, the fact that he gets his mask has not changed my mind. So after that came the final chapter, the last Jason movie. Except not really, as you can see our entire screen. Yeah, part 4, going on to S tier. Yep, I do like this movie. This is considered by many to be the best Friday the 13th movie. Not gonna lie, I do like part 2 a lot more, but part 4, it is still awesome. It is an uber Jason. This begins the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. A trilogy that was clearly not planned, but caught on wonderfully with fans. Jason returns after his defeat in part 3D, the Corners take his corpse, and they're about to dissect Jason, only for him to come back to life and kill his way back to Camp Crystal Lake, killing a whole bunch of new people who are living there. This time, Jason goes to a neighborhood in Camp Crystal Lake's area, and we meet Tommy Jarvis and a bunch of wacky, colorful characters who will be picked off one by one. Yeah, so this movie, it is awesome. It has the most hardcore death scenes, a lot of brutal scares in this one, a lot of unnerving tension. This one took the Jason formula and basically recharged it. All the teens actually do get some personality and character. Some like Crispin Glover's in this movie. He plays like a nerd trying to get laid and actually does have a character arc. Tommy Jarvis we meet as a little boy. Corey Feldman plays Tommy in this film. He's basically the likable little kid character who grows tougher and fights Jason by the end of the movie, becoming one of the best iconic characters of this franchise. Yeah, Tommy is still young in this movie. He's like a 10-year-old. We see a lot of partying teenagers, a lot of hot sex scenes, and then Jason comes in and basically kills the party. But yeah, okay, horror movies really love using the final chapter, yet all the time it's never the final chapter, exactly. But yeah, part 4 is very good. Yeah, this one, it is good. It is pretty much the perfected take of the Jason formula. The teens actually have personality, you actually care about what's going on, and there's some really creepy suspense. We don't see Jason for a long time. Jason is clearly the killer, but they hide his face. He's like battle damaged and scarred in this version, and they build up to Jason's unmasking. Yeah, this has one of the best Jason unmaskings ever when they beat the mask off of him and we see an adult version of his little boy face, now covered in like mutation marks and water and completely scarred and damaged from the past movies. This one was supposed to be the final send-off to everything Friday the 13th, and to their credit, it does actually feel like a true love letter and tribute to everything from the Friday saga. We reference the past movies, we meet past characters. Yeah, this one kind of broke continuity a little because the character Rob is related to one of the past victims, and he implies that years have passed, but this is happening like 2 days after part 2, so yeah, kind of confusing. Okay, so yeah, I love Tommy Jarvis's character arc in this movie. He goes from a silly kid character to growing a spine and fighting Jason. He has that weird scene where he shaves his head, and I guess reminds Jason of his past self, where he brutally murders him. We see Jason unmasked, and he gets his comeuppance finally in this movie. They give Jason a machete to his head, and Tommy completely obliterates his body. Die! 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 A lot of fun kills in this. Everybody remembers, hey Ted, where's the corkscrew? And Jason stabs it into his hand and beats him with a cleaver. Really hardcore scene. I like the projector kill the most, where Jason stabs the horny best friend through the back of a movie screen and we see his blood like slide down with him. That was actually one of my favorite kills. And a lot of savage scenes too. Jason like mauling bodies, killing people, stabs some poor hitchhiker lady through the throat and rips her head off. Yeah, they really brought their A game in the kills department for this film. But yeah, in short, it is a good movie. It is awesome. It's not my number one Friday the 13th movie. I do think part 2 is a little more suspenseful. This one, good old-fashioned slasher flick. It's going on to S tier. Now let's get to The Black Sheep. Friday the 13th, part 5, The New Beginning. Yeah, the one where Jason isn't even the killer. Okay, so I have actually grown to appreciate some things about this movie. Honestly, the Tommy Jarvis stuff in this movie is good. However, the Roy Burns stuff is what holds it back. This one might upset some people, but I'll put it onto Average Friday. Yeah, I'll put it right smack in the middle. It does have some good ideas, a lot of great kills, a lot of hot nudity. If that's your thing, this is the sexiest Friday the 13th movie, and absolutely love Tommy Jarvis's character arc in this film. That is the big saving grace of this. However, the worst part is the killer. The killer and his plot are garbage. They are not well written, and the twist does not work well. Okay, so part 5, Tommy Jarvis is now a teenager / young adult. He's being moved to an insane asylum near Crystal Lake. However, something goes wrong. One of the patients is horribly killed by another mental patient, and out of nowhere, there's a new Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees is not in this film. He's dead. He quote-unquote cameos as a ghost. Really a hallucination inside of Tommy's warped mind. Tommy is trying to overcome the trauma. He's been suffering it for years. Friday the 13th, the game, actually does go into great detail over this. Tommy is brought here to basically face his past, overcome his trauma, and become fully functional so he can adjust back into society. However, a new hockey mask killer shows up and is terrorizing the entire area. A lot of innocent people are killed. A lot of annoying douchey characters are killed too. The farm couple, who are also stupid, they die. And basically, it's a murder mystery over who is this new Jason, as the characters either get killed or try to solve the mystery. I say try and solve the mystery, but they don't really do anything. They just try to fight for their survival. Hello, Wolf. Hello, Cat. Hey, Simon Hernandez. Wasn't Tommy supposed to be the next Jason? Yeah, he was, but then they chickened out and made part 6 because everybody bitched and moaned that Jason should have been the killer. And honestly, they were right, because the twist makes no sense. Yeah, this is the one where the killer is a regular guy, Roy Burns, the worst twist villain I've ever seen. Yeah, it's supposed to be a twist that this guy's the killer. They throw like several hundred red herrings at us, only to fail because they kill off the red herrings or remove them from the plot in like a few minutes. Yeah, this murder mystery does not work, and the killer is like the most obvious guy. Roy Burns does not really hide his identity very well. Always reminds you that he's here in the plot, and it's so painfully obvious he's the killer. They have a big final showdown. Why is Roy doing this? Well, because the patient that died in the beginning of the first act was his son. Yes, we're doing a Pamela Voorhees twist. The killer is actually a parent of a mentally challenged boy who died a horribly gruesome and unfair death, and he basically murders several hundred innocent people who are completely disconnected with his son or the insane asylum. And to think all these killings happen in this movie because of a chocolate bar. Yeah, that's the meme. That's what everyone brings up. Pretty much my thoughts. The kills were good and Tommy's arc was good. The killer, an obvious twist, was not. Yeah, okay, so I know a lot of people might hate me for this, but I will give them some points because there are good moments in this film. A lot of the kills are actually pretty excellent. I do like the guy getting brutally crushed by the belt. Like, Jason ties a belt to this guy's skull into a tree and twists it until it pops his skull open. That is hardcore. The girl getting her eyes stabbed out by the garden shears. Do like Roy Burns' use of garden weaponry in this movie. That is pretty creative. The Tommy Jarvis arc, easily the highlight of this film, and really the only reason to watch it. We see Tommy's character progression. Tommy, like, facing his fears, overcoming his trauma. They kind of tease that he was going to become the new killer, but that never happened because test audiences didn't like it. Unfortunately, that didn't prevent the twist ending from being real confusing. Yeah, so I do think there are good ideas, good moments here, but it's held back by a lot, and a lot of it is the villain. The slasher killer is the weakest part of this slasher killer movie. Roy Burns is not a good villain. He's not heavily built up to, and he's not really intimidating either. The Jason suit looks really weird. Like, they go out of their way to show you that it's a Jason imposter. The hockey mask has, like, the wrong colors on it. He's wearing, like, Michael Myers' jumpsuit, and he uses like garden shears as his weaponry instead of the iconic machete, making it clear that this is a poser Jason. Is it the one where the idiot fat guy walked towards the angry guy with an axe? Yes, it is, Monica. This is that movie. Because I remember that the fat guy was killed by the guy for cursing him out. What an idiot. Yeah, if that's how you're gonna be, fine. And he, like, goes mad and chops him in the back. Honestly, this scene made me laugh more than terrified. It's supposed to be a big dramatic scene that one of the mental patients went nuts and attacked another, but the way it's shot feels too much like a comedy. It is really goofy and campy and might make you laugh more than scared. Don't worry, they don't show you any blood until the aftermath of it. Nobody remembers Roy Burns' terrible twist. It's funny how Jason Voorhees' very existence is wrapped around a giant plot hole. Yeah, poser Jason, that's what we call him. This is the Jason Freddy Krueger should have went after. Yeah, absolutely. So, to be fair, the climax is pretty good. They fight Roy on top of a barn, and Roy falls onto the Mortal Kombat spikes. He, like, falls off onto a farm thresher and is impaled, very rightfully so, easily the most satisfying moment of the movie, and we see his mask fall off, revealing it was Roy. Who? Well, the movie actually goes out of its way to remind you this guy was in the film, and says Roy did it all to avenge the death of his stupid, retarded, fat kid. Yeah, he wanted to avenge the death of his son, went on a killing spree to get back at the asylum for failing his boy, failing to protect him and cure him, and his plot included murdering several random people, and this is why this plot makes no sense. He killed everybody except the asylum people until the end. Like, seriously, he murders, like, 2 random guys who were lost in the woods. He murders the annoying farm hillbillies who actually wanted the asylum shut down, murders several farmers who didn't even know his son, and murdered that couple at the Denny's. Yeah, Roy's plan made no sense. He kills several other people before actually killing people at the asylum. That is why this plot is stupid. Roy Burns' twist does not make a single ounce of sense. It is one of the dumbest twists ever. And, just to confuse you even more, the twist ending reveals that Tommy went insane and is now Jason, which will be immediately retconned in next movie. Yeah, this one, going right smack in the middle, very low on the middle, but it has some moments and ideas I do like. I respect this film for trying something new. Unfortunately, they were not good at it, which is why it lost points. Don't you know you can't piss off the guy with an axe? That movie was a great example. Yep, Roy killing the wrong people. Yeah, good job, Roy. Yeah, he kills several random people before actually attacking the asylum. That's why this twist is dumb. It's not just the fact that Jason isn't in it, but the killer is also not well written. That's why Roy Burns is so hated. And just to piss you off even more, they finally made a NECA action figure of Roy Burns. As if anyone's gonna buy it. Yeah, I'll put this one on Average Friday. A New Beginning tried, but did not succeed. But let's finally talk about something positive with Part 6, Jason Lives. Where are ya? We need that good movie. Ah, here it is with the tombstone. Jason Lives, shocker, going on to Uber Jason. And yes, it's going up at number 1. Oh, but he's back. He's the man behind the mask. Jason Lives, easily one of the best sequels of all time. This is one of the highlights of the franchise, the conclusion to the Tommy Jarvis arc. Tommy Jarvis is back, somehow regaining his sanity, and is going to kill Jason once and for all. Unfortunately, there is one bad part in this movie. Jason comes back to life thanks to Tommy's stupidity. As Tommy puts it, he fucked up. They go to Jason's grave, see that he's dead, and Tommy tries to burn him to ash to get rid of the body for good, only for God to explicitly intervene and bring Jason back to life, where we meet Zombie Jason. Yep, this is the movie where Jason officially becomes undead Deadite Jason. Jason is brought back as a zombie, lightning strikes him twice. Yeah, literally, it strikes him twice. He resurrects and fights Tommy and goes on another killing spree, making his way back to Camp Crystal Lake. To make matters worse, Crystal Lake is having a new summer camp built there, now that Jason is gone for good, unaware that he's coming back, and this time he's gonna go after actual children. Frieza, that's stupid! You're stupid! Stop being so stupid! Dragon Ball abridged. Was it the couple where one of them died in a porta potty? Yeah, that was them, Monica. The Voodoo Master from Scooby-Doo was in part 5. He's the couple that got killed on the porta john. Yeah, he and his girlfriend got killed. Also, 2 characters unrelated to the asylum. Yeah, he was like the big brother of one of the kids going there, but that was really it. That's for the killer, not you, Cat. Yeah, I understand, V Scorpio. Still my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Part 6 did so much right. Jason's appearance, the kills, and characters are absolute perfection. Absolutely. Love the kills. Love the character writing in this. There's actually some really intense, scary moments, and some moments that really catch you off guard. The RV kill being one of my favorite, one of the coolest scenes ever. Tommy Jarvis gets proper conclusion in this arc. Jason actually attacks kids in this summer camp, yet children are actually endangered. Don't worry, none of them die, but the counselors all do. They get killed horribly. A lot of violent scenes, a lot of intense scares. Jason, I think he has the highest kill count in this one. I mean, unless you want to count Jason X, where he blew up that Star Destroyer. But yeah, Jason gets a really high body count in this one. A lot of memorable, iconic scenes, and oddly, some actual funny humor. Yeah, there's several dark comedy moments in this one. You can really tell Evil Dead and Elm Street really impacted the horror genre at this point, because several dark comedy moments. There's like this goofy groundskeeper guy. Tommy and the sheriff get into wacky antics, and Megan, one of the best final girls, she was pretty cool. Like her as a love interest for Tommy. Wish they got together in one of the fan films, but we never see it. God really hates Tommy like his trauma isn't bad enough. No, let me bring back Jason. I like that the love interest is the sheriff's daughter. I'm gonna assume Tommy starts to date and eventually get married, but that's too optimistic. Yeah, Tommy and Megan, easily the best couple. Megan is really cool. She's hot, she's kick-ass, she mouths off to her daddy, the sheriff. She actually believes in Tommy, and she wasn't afraid to help him fight Jason. Speaking of which, has one of the best climaxes ever. The police actually show up to Crystal Lake, and we quickly learn why cops don't last long in this series, because Jason picks them off one by one like a ninja. Yet some of the coolest kills are actually against the police officers. Jason breaks a guy's skull, like beats a guy against a building, throws a ninja shuriken into a guy's head, really cool, and the sheriff actually gets a gets a redemption moment. The sheriff never believed in Tommy, and he actually dies trying to save his daughter, only to get gruesomely snapped in half. Yeah, it is a really kick-ass effect and horrible way to go out, but yeah, the sheriff, who's been a jerk all movie, finally believes and tries to stop Jason, only to die trying to buy his daughter and Tommy time. Really graphic kill. Speaking of which, the climax, we get that big showdown in the sea. They're fighting in Crystal Lake. Tommy and Jason fight in the boat. Tommy almost dies, but Megan actually risks her life to save him, and Jason gets his face slashed open by a motorboat. Yeah, also, intense kill. Really cool action scenes in this too. Jason gets his face sliced open, and we get to see the aftermath in part 7, but we'll get to that later. And Tommy finally gets his well-deserved happy ending. Megan gives him mouth-to-mouth, and Tommy at last redeems himself and is at peace. Jason's gone forever, and they succeed at stopping Jason by actually trapping him in Crystal Lake. They throw a chain around him and drown him, keeping him like submerged under the sea until the day he dies. And we see Jason pissed off in the ending, still alive but stopped until part 7. But yeah, this movie, awesome. Part 6 is great. It's fun. It's kick-ass. It is maximum popcorn entertainment. A lot of gruesome kills, a lot of neat effects, and really intense action for a Friday the 13th sequel. Tommy Jarvis, best protagonist we've ever had in these films. Megan, kick-ass final girl. A lot of fun characters, and Jason is super awesome in this. Get zombie Jason, and they take full advantage of his undead state. The RV shot being one of my favorites. Part 6, easily the best. The movie actually has children. Yay, the stakes have been raised. Yeah, I actually see children in here. They're attending camp. I think it's called Camp Forest Green or Camp Evergreen or something like that. Yeah, basically they're attending the green camp, and we actually get scenes with the children, making it a lot more suspenseful because Jason almost like kills a little girl. Like he's looming over this kid and she's like praying to God to protect her. Jason is about like to do something bad to her, but then he hears the sheriff show up and goes out to check it out. Yeah, Jason actually came close to killing kids, though Kane Hodder did say Jason doesn't really kill children, so I think he was just trying to scare them. So, Jason, like, cool. Yep, updated Jason. Megan not being a useless damsel girl is awesome. Well, Ginny wasn't a useless damsel girl either. Yeah, she wasn't beating Jason's ass, but she wasn't useless. But anyways, part 6. Yeah, this might be number 1. It was number 1 the last time, and it might not be dethroned now. It is easily the peak Jason Voorhees movie, going up on top. Now we get to Part 7, Jason versus Carrie. I mean, the new blood. Part 7, okay, it has a lot of fun moments, but going on to Awesome Party. Yeah, this is basically Jason versus Carrie. Jason fights a psychic girl. We meet a whole new protagonist, Tina, I believe is her name. She's more or less Carrie White in all but name. They were originally gonna have Jason versus Carrie as a official crossover movie, but Stephen King vetoed the idea because he didn't like it. So they changed her name and character slightly, giving us a knockoff Jason versus Carrie. Tina is a psychic girl who unlocks her great telekinetic powers, but she's brought back to Camp Crystal Lake to study these abilities and unlock them. We find out that her doctor is actually this evil, corrupt bastard who wants to turn Tina into like a super soldier weapon, and brought her here so he could see how she uses her powers and wants her to master them and try to gaslight her and control her for his own well gain, basically. But Jason shows up because Tina inadvertently breaks the chain holding him in prison, and he comes back going on a killing spree. Teenagers who are here to party are across next door, and Jason arrives to pick them off one by one, where we get Kane Hodder as Jason. Yep, this is the first movie where Kane Hodder, the fan favorite Jason, finally dons the hockey mask, and easily the best designed Jason. Zombie Jason is now more decayed, has like a bunch of wounds and scratches, his mouth is completely exposed from the motorboat, and Kane Hodder absolutely knocks it out of the park. He is badass as Jason. What do you think happened in that bedroom? We only see the aftermath. The entire room was covered in blood. I think Jason absolutely went to town butchering her, like was slicing her up like hamburger meat. And quick question, if you are a Christian, why do you watch shows with the devil like The Haunting Hour Headshot since they can't see it? Well, I just think The Haunting Hour does a good job showing you why the devil's evil, why the devil should be feared, so that's kind of a way to get around that. Yeah, the devil is a bad guy in Headshot and in Long Live Rock and Roll, so it's not like they're glorifying him. Like we have the fan comic with the shipping a Jason times Carrie ship. Really weird ship, though. Like Tina should fight Eleven from Stranger Things in Death Battle. Yeah, she should. Also, maybe it's an opportunity to make theories about Jason being canon to Carrie. Yeah, there's several theories that Jason shares a universe with several slasher killers. The game and Freddy vs. Jason all but confirmed this. Yeah, if you play Friday the 13th, the video game, you can actually find, like, collectible tapes, and they reveal that Tommy Jarvis has been to many insane asylums. He went to Haddonfield, Michael Myers' area. He went to Weston Hills, Freddy Krueger's insane asylum. He went to an insane asylum near Victor Crowley's area. Yeah, they do mention Victor Crowley. The cop allegedly went onto the street from Shocker. Yeah, Shocker actually happened. And he mentions going to the Chenard Institute. That's the asylum from Hellraiser 2, Hellbound. Yeah, pretty much confirming that all these different horror movie killers do exist in the same universe. And as we all know, Freddy Krueger lives across the street for Freddy vs. Jason. Like why you watch Hazbin Hotel since you're a Christian? I watch it because it's just funny. Part 7 definitely has its strengths, especially the climax. Did wish some of the characters were a bit better. Shame many of the kills got censored. Yeah, that's also a big reason why it's down a rank. The MPAA censored a lot of this movie. Luckily, we got a lot of decent nudity, but all the kills got butchered by this film, especially the doctor. The doctor got a really well-deserved kill. He gets his comeuppance where Jason slices him with a weed whacker, and he starts by cutting him in half from the crotch upward. That would have been so awesome to see, but no, we just see him get stabbed once and then his reaction to dying. Yeah, get used to that. Jason does a lot of generic stabbing in this movie. The doctor gets like the only interesting and well-deserved kill, but a lot of them kind of basic or comedic at worst. Kane Hodder is really awesome in this film. The teens, not very as interesting as a lot of the earlier films. Jeff Bennett is actually in this movie. That actually surprises me. Jeff Bennett's in here, and Susan Blue, the voice actress of RC, is also Tina's mother. Yeah, pretty funny seeing two voice acting legends in a slasher movie. Jeff Bennett is like the weird sci-fi writer nerd character who's like simping for the popular chick. Yeah, pretty funny Jeff Bennett got his start in a Friday the 13th movie. But yeah, a lot of the generic teens die, a lot of fun kills, some lackluster kills. Jason does a lot of stabbing in this one, a lot of impalement, a lot of machete slashing, a lot of knives to the back, all kind of basic. Though the alpha bitch got a funny death where he slams an axe into her head and throws her at the TV. That one was also pretty funny. But it leads to the greatest climax ever. Tina, the psychic girl, basically standing in for Carrie, finally fighting Jason, confronting him, get the best Jason unmasking. I think part 7 has the best Jason unmasking face. I like Jason's face reveal in this one. It's completely scarred, burned, and has those big bulging eyes out of a skull. Kane Hodder's makeup looks excellent in this. He suffers a huge beatdown, which is very satisfying. Jason actually gets a comeuppance in this movie. He's beaten up, thrown across rooms, and burned alive. He keeps coming back for more, but Carrie eventually brings the entire house down upon him. But it leads to another bad moment of the movie, the twist ending, if you can even call it that. That Jason shows up for one final scare, and then Tina's father, now a fresh zombie or spirit or something, jumps out of the lake and brings Jason back down underneath. Yeah, it's never explained, but Tina's dead father, she accidentally killed her abusive dad in the beginning, shows up, is suddenly good now, and saves his daughter by bringing Jason back to his underwater prison. It is completely out of nowhere, not explained, and kind of sends a mixed message about abuse because the dad was kind of an abuser and tried to beat Tina. She accidentally killed him with her psychic powers, unlocking them for the first time, and he shows up as now a good guy and saves her. Yeah, it is a confusing question mark even to this very day, and honestly another negative for this film, but honestly I thought it was dumb fun. I'm gonna put it onto A tier. It's still pretty awesome, pretty unique. Kane Hodder is easily the MVP of this movie, and the psychic battle is unique, it is creative, it is enjoyable. I think Part 7 is a decent Friday movie, but not one of the all-time greatest hits. Carrie for Temu. Sorry, my sister doesn't watch Friday the 13th since, Christian beliefs, she hated nudity. There's nudity in the Bible. Like I heard Tina saying, like, lose no cero when she defeats Jason. Now eat this, sucker. Jason versus Michael Myers death battle, but the animation sucks. Like, we could have a live action fight. Yeah, like Nightwing and Daredevil. Jason and Michael Myers would have been best friends. Yeah, Robot Chicken agrees. Yeah, the twist ending, really confusing. I'm glad Tina's still alive and she got her happy ending, but the ghost dad kind of comes out of nowhere. I already made a theory that the slasher killers are canon to creepypasta killers. Also, why didn't Pamela Voorhees have a spin-off series? I believe she's getting that now. There's a Friday the 13th prequel being made for like Netflix or Peacock. Apparently, Linda Cardellini is going to play Pamela Voorhees. It's a prequel showing Mrs. Voorhees' life before the first movie happened, in a similar vein to Hannibal, the Mads Mikkelsen series. I hope it's good, but it's not out yet. And apparently this the show is being kind of debated on whether or not they're going to release it or cancel it. Roy Burns and Tina need their own spinoff. No, Roy does not. Roy does not need a spinoff. Hey, Kat, what did I miss? We're on part 7. Also, why didn't Pamela Voorhees have a spinoff series? She might be getting one. Like, could we use the clip of Lou saying, now eat this sucker for future review? Need the right moment, Akira. Need the right moment. And now Jason on a boat and only taking Manhattan for the last 15 minutes. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to Part 8. Jason takes a boat. I mean, Manhattan. Yeah, Part 8 goes to hell. Easily one of the worst movies of this saga. The low budget on this one absolutely hurts. And basically, the big selling point, Jason going to New York, Manhattan, doesn't happen until the last 15 minutes of a 2-hour movie. Yeah, Part 8 is the longest of the Jason movies, and you absolutely feel that. There is no reason this movie needed to be 2 hours, especially when we're on a boat. So, we meet a high school class. They're going on a summer trip to Manhattan. They're like studying abroad, and of course this boat is passing through Crystal Lake. Jason miraculously breaks free from his water prison again and stows away on board this boat to pick off the teenagers one by one. It's a cool setup. Unfortunately, it lasts for almost the entire movie. Yeah, the worst part about Jason taking New York is he doesn't take New York until the last 15 minutes. We waste so much time on this friggin' boat. They try to get us to like the characters, but you don't really feel for any of them. A lot of the kills are really cheap. Some gross out, which is supposed to make up for the horror. A lot of padding. There's a lot of padding. They drag out the arrival to New York. Jason kills a bunch of characters you don't care about. Kelly Hu is actually in this movie, and she gets the lamest death scene. Jason, chases her around in this intense, Hall of Mirrors chase, and he just grabs her and snaps her neck. Yeah, you had Jason versus Karai and you disappointed. The final girl, easily the most forgettable, blandest chick. The final girl's traumatized from incident where she almost drowned, and she's trying to confront her dark and troubled past, conquer her fears of the water, only to stumble across Jason. Kane Hodder is definitely trying in this movie. Unfortunately, as Jason is at his most generic, and basically, it's one big Scooby-Doo chase scene until we arrive to New York. And when Jason gets to New York, he barely does anything. He stands in Times Square for 5 seconds, and none of the New Yorkers have any reaction to seeing a zombie serial killer walking around, chasing after these people. Yeah, Jason chases after the main characters when we want to see him, kill everyone. Jason should be, stabbing and murdering everyone he comes across in New York, but he's after this one group of characters because they're the main protagonists. The one kill I do like is the douchebag principal dies drowning in nuclear waste. Jason, pushes his head into, a bunch of radioactive poo and piss. That one was actually pretty satisfying, though Jason gets his infamous teleport ability. He keeps showing up everywhere. He chases them on the subway train, and it would have been so cool if Jason went on a Predator 2 style rampage here, but no, he doesn't. He chases them. We get the boxing kill. Everyone loves this kill where Jason fights the jock kid. The jock is a wrestler, and he boxes with Jason. He keeps punching him in the hockey mask for some stupid reason, when he should be punching everywhere else. But Jason eventually knocks his block off, and this is the only kill everyone remembers. He straight up punches this guy's head off, and his head goes rolling in the dumpster, because Jason believes in not littering. And eventually we get to the sewer climax. Yeah, Jason fights them in a sewer. Missed opportunity for a Ninja Turtles crossover. Jason chases them, and the weirdest Jason defeat happens in this movie. Jason is killed by radioactive waste and regresses into a child. Yeah, the TMNT mutagen comes in. The final girl and her boyfriend manage to dodge it in time, and Jason is turned into a normal human boy again, thanks to the radioactive waste of New York sewers. Yeah, it is dumb. Also has one of the worst Jason faces. He has this mud monkey face, and he cries, "Mommy! Mommy!" It is so cringy and weird. But Jason turns into a real boy, and final girl lives, and they get to enjoy New York City. Unfortunately, we did not, because this movie sucks. That's not why, Akira. I just think they aren't scary. Okay, Batkid, that's fair. I think part 2 is scary. Yeah, the ghost dad all of a sudden being a good guy after being abusive really threw me off. Yeah, that was out of nowhere. I think they just wrote themselves into a corner. Hey there, sorry I'm late. Don't worry, Akira, I got a lot of movies. We're wrapping up the first god-awful one, Jason Takes Manhattan, or A Boat to Manhattan. I've seen scarier criminal cases that are in real life. Okay. Part 8 was my favorite, I cannot lie. Really, Simon, you liked it? Okay. Don't worry, it's not the number 1 worst. We're getting to that next. Remember Disney Channel made a parody of Friday the 13th and Bunked called Slaughter Camp. Movies 1 through 5, expect Slaughter Camp 6, which is a musical comedy, and Low Point that ruined the franchise. Why do girls always pick on the girl with the... Oh, why do girls always pick on the girl with psychic powers? Because they're suicidal. It was cheesy good. Is the Manhattan one the reference for the Disney Channel? The Showbunk references the Slaughter Camp franchise? Yeah, that might be. It's always a later movie, which is the low point in the franchise. Even Scream did this with, what was it? Stab 9, they go to the future, and Ghostface has a flamethrower. It makes Turbo, a Power Rangers movie boat scene, better that we see the fight climax. Yeah, except for the guy who needed help falling down over the boat. Only enjoyable bit of Takes Manhattan was when Jason arrived and there was that hockey mask outdoor thing. Replacing the 6 with the 8, question mark. He fought Karai from TMNT. Yeah, Kelly Hu is in this movie. She's one of the girls who gets killed. Kelly Hu is the beta bitch to the mean girl in this film. Kelly Hu's chased down this hall of mirrors onto the prom dance floor, and she basically gets neck snapped by Jason. It was almost a cool scene, but the way she goes out is very disappointing. Like, why New York? Like, what's next? Jason goes to Tokyo, LA, Brazil. Just as the psychic girl is a cliche, the idiot bully is bound to be near. Yep, Yara, you called it. And this was by far Jason's worst defeat in the franchise. Yeah, TMNT mutagen turns Jason into a little boy again. How? I don't know. Like, Multiverse made Jason in a kid-friendly fighting game. Yeah, that was weird, but Looney Tunes' Space Jam 2 also brought in the Clockwork Orange Gang and Pennywise. Also, it's the one who the whole Jason can teleport theory Matt Pat made a theory about. Yeah, he does have his Jason teleport in this film. That's like the only thing this film gave us. The boxing scene is so iconic. I agree, but the problem is, for me, is it looks so fake. Like, it is so fake. When he punches the kid's head off, you can see the styrofoam under the neck, and that's what kind of took me out of it. It looks so hilariously fake, but I understand a lot of people love the kill. Jason literally knocking somebody's block off would, of course, be a highlight. Like, also have a Toxic Avenger reference. Like, why didn't they adopted them? Yeah, that was kind of weird. Jason doesn't get adopted. He's just abandoned in the sewers. And also, Jason from Freddy vs. Jason made a cameo. That's in the next one. Jason Goes to Hell. Yep, it's official. Slashers are probably part of the creepypasta universe / multiverse. P.S. Weird fanfics need not apply. Blame Stephen King. Example, Carrie. Have you watched Saturday the 14th? No, I have not. Fun fact, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was originally meant to be the final film. Yeah, we all know that, but they're still making movies after that. I guess nobody can't get enough of the franchise. Yeah, the final chapter in horror movies is never the final chapter. Well, only 9 days for Aztec Batman. Oh, it's coming out soon. Okay. Speaking of Karai and TMNT, a TMNT 2012 character tier list would be sweet. Yeah, I do need to rewatch that, though. I remember missing out on Tales from the TMNT, because honestly, I thought the show was over. They murdered the Shredder. But yeah, I'll have to do a rewatch of that, but that would be a fun tier list. That and the 2000s TMNT Series 1 too. Love the 2000s TMNT. Unfortunately, that one might be a longer wait because that show lasted like a solid 9 to 11 seasons. And I do not like the future season. Yeah, the fast forward, that's what it was called. Did you ever read the What If comic about the slashers and Carrie lived in the same city and had a happy ending? No, I have not, Bat-Kid. When Jason kicked the boombox radio is also iconic scene. Oh yeah, the gang kids try to attack Jason and he scares them off by unmasking himself. That one was actually pretty funny. It wins a few points, but just not enough. Like why Jason talked, like did he lost his voice while drowning? Yeah, it just didn't make sense. It was a plot hole, Akira. Is the final chapter the last chronologically, or is it just a misleading title? Misleading title, Bat-Kid. The final chapter is actually the 4th movie, and it was supposed to be the grand finale, but it made a ton of money, and henceforth we got all these other sequels. Yeah, it's the final chapter in the same way Halloween was supposed to have the final chapter. And Saw, how could I forget Saw had the final chapter, but it wasn't. Saw 10 and now Saw 11 is being made. 2003 lasted 7 seasons, fast forward and Back to the Sewers being 6 and 7. Yeah, but those also had like 60 to 100 episode seasons. I miss when we had cartoons like that, where an entire season could be 50 episodes or more. Those were the fun days, but yeah, still kind of a lot to watch and go over. Okay, anyways, Jason Goes to New York, it sucks. Stick with the Muppets, Take Manhattan. Speaking of which, let's go to our other bad egg, Jason Goes to Hell. And yep, still sucks. This is the worst one. Sorry, I gotta wait for my computer to load up. Friday the 13th, the 9th film, Jason Goes to Hell. It is garbage. This is the worst Friday the 13th film I've ever seen. It is horribly written, horribly acted, has a lot of cheap, shallow gross outs, and Jason's lore is completely butchered by this movie. Jason is now a magical demon who can possess people. The best part of this movie is the opening. We actually get an FBI agent girl who strips down and does a typical Friday the 13th scene, only to reveal it's an FBI sting operation. They have Jason surrounded, and Jason dies. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie has to happen. Jason loses his physical body, and I kid you not, his heart can be swallowed by a victim he possesses. His heart jumps the autopsy corner and he takes him over from within, and Jason basically body hops into people trying to regain his form and fulfills some ritual where he has to kill his sister. Oh yeah, we're on movie 9, and we find out Jason had a long-lost sister. His sister is introduced in this movie, and Jason needs to perform some weird ritual in order to get his final form, basically. We meet some new characters who hunt Jason down, realizing he's not dead. I know a lot of people love Creighton Duke. I am not a fan of this guy. Duke is like this mysterious badass cowboy bounty hunter. The guy playing him does a pretty fantastic job, though the guy is also really unsympathetic. He breaks this guy's fingers every time he asks him questions. He harasses waitresses at a Denny's and basically annoys a lot of people. Acts kind of like he's supposed to be this badass anti-hero, but he kind of comes across as too much of a prick to like. And we also meet a guy who is a very blatant stand-in for Tommy Jarvis, but not Tommy Jarvis. He dresses like Tommy, acts like Tommy, and has the character role of being Jason's arch-nemesis, trying to defeat and kill him for good. Also, that means Jason is the has-been hotels and hell of a boss's problem now. Yeah, he is. It sucks, but Doug Walker likes it. Yeah, he admitted that. He said it was a guilty pleasure. My literal reaction after watching part 9, what the fuck did I just watch? Yeah, okay, so the only thing people like in this movie, outside of all the nudity and Kane Hodder, is we see Freddy Krueger. After Jason dies, Freddy Krueger's glove comes out of the ground and drags the hockey mask down to hell, hinting at that the next film is going to be a crossover. And that would have been fun. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie, it is trash. It is horribly written, really confusing, and I guess it's canon now that Jason is a Deadite. Yeah, that's what the movie was trying to go for. Jason is a supernatural demon now. He shedded his human form and is now a supernatural spirit, and we do see the Necronomicon is there in the background. Ash Williams actually gets crossover comics, so yeah, Jason is a Deadite. This movie made that canon now. Where's the Friday the 13th, the series? That does not count. Yeah, sorry, we're not counting Friday the 13th, the series. It's not actually about Jason. It's a horror anthology show, okay? Yeah, I consider Season 5 the Tengu Demon Shredder arc the true finale, since Fast Forward and Back to the Sewers were a downgrade. Absolutely. Back to the Sewers, its one good episode was April and Casey's wedding. I do like that moment. Unfortunately, the rest of the show got lighthearted and very child-friendly. I do not want to rewatch Fast Forward. Yeah, there was a Friday the 13th, the series. It's not about Jason, it's an anthology show, and even the showrunners openly confirmed that they only named it Friday the 13th to trick people into watching it, thinking it was a part of the same horror saga. Like, how did Jason take control of someone's body? Apparently his heart can come to life and he dives into their mouths. They have to eat his heart and he, possesses them like a shadow or something. One of the dumbest scenes ever is when we see one of the guys walking around and he looks in the mirror and we see it's Jason, like a vampire or something. I guess the title is a giveaway about the quality of the movie. Yeah, it's bad. The Goosebumps title, Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, is misleading. The gnomes are not getting revenge, they're actually causing mischief for fun. Yeah, that was also misleading. Like a worm, Jason is a weird one. Absolutely. He comes back. Yeah, Jason was in Has-Been Hotel. He's in the pilot. He makes a cameo for 5 seconds. Try to be Master Orgsheart. Yeah, that was kind of a similar thing, though. One of the weirdest scenes I've ever seen is Jason, abducts a guy and strips him down naked and is, shaving his pubic hair. No, really, that's an actual scene in this movie. The director said he wanted to balance out the female nudity by giving women some hot male nudity, and it could have worked, but the context is so baffling. Like, get this, instead of giving women a guy in a shower scene or a guy going skinny dipping or changing clothes, Jason abducts a guy, strips him naked and ties him to a table, and shaves his pubic hair. Yeah, that is how we're gonna give the women fans some male nudity. And just to make it more confusing, Jason has no reason to keep this guy alive, and he ends up killing him anyway by, like, slashing his throat. What was the point of this scene? And that's what I could say about the entire movie as a whole. What is the point of it? A lot of the hell magic does not make sense. Jason turns into like a gremlin at one point and is scurrying across the floorboards, and the scene where Jason is like being vaporized by like the heaven lights and being dragged to hell by rock people, it is so bizarre and baffling, and a huge sign of how far this franchise has fallen. Yeah, they break the ritual, Jason ends up getting dragged off to hell by demons. Not Tommy Jarvis defeats him, Creighton Duke dies, kind of anticlimactically too if you ask me, but Jason gets like shot by the heaven lights and is pulled down into hell by all these demons, and Freddy Krueger comes out for one last scare. What is this, the Ringu, Japanese OG version of the Ring filler movie Spiral? Yeah. Like, Jason have a sister, like, why she never show up in the Friday the 13th first movie or the sequel? That was another sign of how god-awful the writing got. Jason had a sister this whole time, and I guess Mrs. Voorhees ditched her completely or gave her up or something, cause she never talks about her other children, even though she goes on about how she cares about her children. The ending was iconic, only for Freddy Krueger's cameo, and that's it. Which was so bad that they made the Ringu 2 instead to replace the crappy sequel. From Linkara. Yeah, I agree, I didn't like Jason Goes to Hell except for the last 10 minutes. Let's be glad that none of the women were pregnant in these movies. Yeah, except for one of the victims in part 3. She was pregnant, but it's kind of forgotten about. R.I.P. Splinter 2012. Yeah, saddest Splinter death. Fun fact, Corey Feldman appears in the final chapter, New Beginning. He also stars in Gremlins, The Goonies, and Stand By Me. Yeah, Corey Feldman, he was pretty cool. He's also in The Lost Boys, in all 3 of them, apparently. Okay, like also act like Sakuna plot, but with his 20 fingers. Like, gross. My sister hates seeing that. Yeah, it's pretty gross. Hey, network, glad you made it. Maybe Pamela is doing favoritism. Yeah, Pamela preferred her mentally challenged son over her sister. They never mentioned the dad. He's mentioned in video games. It's implied that the dad abandoned them. I heard fan theories that Jason's dad was gonna be Freddy Krueger. Yeah, it's really weird, but yeah. For future review, maybe. What if Taco Bell made a movie? It'd be pretty short. Nobody wants to see a Taco Bell Chihuahua movie, especially after Beverly Hills Chihuahua. Anyways, Jason Goes to Hell, it is the worst film ever. It is my least favorite Friday the 13th movie, and generally agreed by the fandom that this is the worst entry in the entire saga. It does have defenders and some people who like it. Doug Walker admits it's a guilty pleasure of his. I can see why people like it, because they tried to do something new for the franchise and make Jason more compelling. Unfortunately, it did not work. This movie's a giant mess, confusing and baffling in a lot of areas, and a lot of the kills are more shallow gross out rather than epic Jason slashes. This one, easily the worst entry on this, so let's move on with a good movie. Now, you would think Freddy vs. Jason would be next, but no, it was actually Jason X, and might surprise you, but I love Jason X. Jason X going on to Uber Jason. Yes, that's right, I love Jason X. Jason goes to space. Jason returns. Apparently he's a test subject in a government lab. Crystal Lake has been converted into a military facility, and Jason is actually captured by the government feds, being studied and dissected to create super soldiers. However, Jason's being moved to a more secure government lab, only for, as you'd expect, things to go horribly wrong. Jason breaks out of prison and goes on another rampage. However, this badass government agent lady actually traps Jason in a cryo prison, freezing Jason, but sending them both into into the future, where Jason's reawakened and goes on a killing spree for future generations, becoming Uber Jason in the final act of the film. But honestly, it's fun. I love this movie. Opinions for the reboot. We'll get to that after. Yeah, stay tuned, Mr. Goosebumps fan. But if you're leaving, I do like the reboot. I'm actually a fan of the reboot. We'll get to that one on this tier list, but yeah, I do defend it. I don't see Freddy Krueger as Jason's dad. He's more like the crazy uncle. Yeah, probably. How does someone have 20 fingers? Spy Kids showed you can make that with Play-Doh. Like, where is Jason's dad? Like, he never shows up in the movies since the comic shows him. Yeah, Jason's dad, Mrs. Voorhees implies that she had Jason through rape. Jason's father was an evil, like, bad boy who raped Pamela Voorhees, had his way with her, but ended up ditching her, making Pamela a single mother. She was, like, raising Jason alone, and the dad basically ditched his family, eventually came back and paid for the graves for Mrs. Voorhees because I guess at some point he did have a loving relationship with her, but it's never been explored. The video games imply that Jason's dad was also kind of a supernatural weirdo killer guy, but they never delve further into it. Like, that is the movie at the lowest of Dante Inferno. I don't care what the haters say. Jason X is awesome. Yes, it is. Jason X is so cool. I love this movie. It is campy, over-the-top, ridiculous, gory fun, but that's what makes it fun. It's enjoyable. It is a thrill ride. Jason killing people on, like, a Star Destroyer / Star Trek set is so creative and genius. It is insanely wild. I love it. It's fun. Jason X gets some hardcore kills in this too. He like kills people on a holodeck. He kills like a bunch of space marines, fights this Master Chief guy. One guy gets like impaled on a drill. Some guys like electroshocked. Link from the god-awful Legend of Zelda cartoon actually gets a funny death scene in this. Yeah, Link, he's in this movie. Who am I talking about? Link from the Legend of Zelda animated series. Hey, excuse me, princess. Yes, Link is actually in this movie. He's the creepy principal guy who gets beheaded. It's okay, guys, he just wanted his machete. And Jason, like, backstabs him. What is wrong with Beverly Hills Chihuahua? Though it could be the nostalgia, which could affect how I remember it. It's not a really good movie, Kid. It's not, especially when you're older. Opinions for the reboot. I like the reboot. We'll talk about it in greater detail soon enough. Like even the comics see Jason fight Uber Jason. Yeah, that comic was really kick-ass. A second one? Why? For the fan film entries at Just Some Guy. Yeah, we do have all the fan films down here. Wanted to talk about those especially. Okay, so Jason X, really fun movie. A lot of incredible technology and sets and stuff. Kane Hodder definitely brings his A game to this role. Kane Hodder is having the time of his life as Jason. The sexy characters are pretty fun, pretty attractive. A lot of great hot nudity in this. Really kick-ass cybernetic android girl. I'm trying to remember what her name is, but yeah, the android has a fight with Jason. She dresses as like a sexy Terminator and beats Jason. However, Jason doesn't die. He activates the nanotechnology and it rebuilds him into the Jason Ranger. Go, go, Power Rangers. Yeah, Jason becomes Uber Jason. A lot of fans joke that he's kind of a Power Ranger, but that's what kind of made him fun. Jason becomes the Jason Ranger and goes on a killing spree, beats the robot senseless, and tries to finish the job. And there's a very high-stakes escape storyline. The Star Destroyer is about to crash. It's losing power. It's lost control. Jason is going to try to kill them all. They're heading like back to the new Earth or Earth 3 or whatever, trying to escape before it basically blows up and want to get rid of Jason once and for all. Jason has a big badass showdown with everyone, and Master Chief's security guard actually sacrifices himself, taking down the Jason Ranger for good, and the hot government agent girl manages to live. I kind of wish she got more character because she was actually pretty cool. Like, she lives, the nerd guy lives, and the android actually gets rebuilt. She's like saved as a severed head, but she's still alive and kicking, and they'll rebuild her. They finally get a happy ending, and Jason burns up in the atmosphere, but we get kind of a vague twist ending that we see a shooting star, and it apparently lands in Crystal Lake, teasing that Jason might be alive, but also might be dead. We see the hockey mask fall off, but is like keeping the door open for future sequels that Uber Jason might still be out there. But Jason X, it is fun. I love this movie. I think it's enjoyable. Yeah, it's stupid, but it's a really fun kind of stupid. Jason killing in space actually had a lot of effort and money thrown into it. This is one of the most expensive Friday the 13th movies, and I do think a lot of it does hold up. The CGI is awful, but a lot of the sets, the kills, the makeup, really good. The best kill is easily the cryo freeze kill. Like, this doctor lady gets her face frozen in cryogenic ice, and Jason smashes her. That one was actually really sick. Second one, why? Yeah, fan film entries. Yari Gelman is a Canadian film and TV actor, known for playing Paulo Velasari in the Lizzie McGuire movie, also played as Stoney. Also the young man in Goosebumps, which one? Also one of the Space Marines is dating a robot, don't know how this would work. Well, they were building, like, sex organs on her, like he was giving her nipples. Yes, it is an excuse for more hot nudity, but that's what makes these movies fun. If Freddy Krueger is ever confirmed Jason's dad, then at least he paid the price for thinking his kid looked like a monster. Cool. Who played Link from The Dick Legend of Zelda? Yep, that was him. There are fan films. Are they as good as the Bat Family and Star Wars fan films? We'll be talking about that soon. Like Beheaded the Robot Girl. At least she's still alive, Akira. Robot Girl is still alive. Nanomachine Son. Okay, thank you. Never Hike Alone series and Sweet Revenge are the fan films. There's a comic that takes place after this. Yeah, Uber Jason fights Modern Jason. And I believe they wanted to write it that Modern Jason wins because a lot of people did not like Uber Jason. But I don't care what the haters say. This movie is kick-ass. Jason X is definitely up there with the stars. It's going on to S tier, especially from me. Like how? Lol, it'd be hilarious if the slasher because the Psycho Rangers is a funny skit. P.S. Hollywood better not make this a thing. They would ruin it. Yeah. So we have robots like that in the future. Let's hope. We do have AI girlfriends, and they are making animatronic girlfriends in Japan. Apparently a lot of money's being thrown into them, and we all know men will pay for those. Also, Jason X shows 60 Solaris soldiers, space station explosion. Yeah, that's right. The space station gets completely blown up. Jason crashes their Star Destroyer through it. So, Jason X also has the highest body count now. Yeah, this one, going on to S tier. Love Jason X. I don't care what anyone says. It is a fun movie. Really like it. Really good cinematography. Really fun effects and really fun setting. And Kane Hodder, definitely S tier. All going up here on Uber Jason. Alright, so let's do some fan films. Let's finally do Never Hike Alone. And this one, going up onto S tier. Yeah, I like Never Hike Alone. I actually did a fun review on this fan film, and I still think it's good. Never Hike Alone is so awesome. First off, it's actually a surprise twist that this fan film is connected to Friday the 13th. Like, look back at all the old trailers, all the old posters and such. It's actually a twist that this is a continuation of the Jason story. So, Never Hike Alone roughly takes place in our present day. They do confirm that Part 6 is the cutoff point. Friday the 13th Part 1 to 6 are canon. Tommy Jarvis is here, played by Tom Matthews. However, we meet the main character, Kyle. Kyle is a YouTube star who is live streaming a tour of the abandoned Camp Crystal Lake area. So at this point, Jason is like a huge urban legend. He exists like on the internet forums. People talk about him. Kyle goes here on a mountain hike exploring the ruins of Camp Crystal Lake to see if the Jason legend is true, and unfortunately finds out, yes, it is very real. Jason is back behind the mask and trying to kill Kyle in a one-on-one showdown. Never Hike Alone is a low-budget film, but you cannot tell. This looks super professional. It looks really good. Did a full review in much better detail than this live stream, but yeah, a lot of great suspense, a lot of great action. Kyle actually is an interesting character, and Ghost Jason really steals the show. Once Ghost Jason shows up, the fan film has so much fun shooting him as the horror icon he truly is. Like, Jason X is cool for a space horror movie. Much better than the Leprechaun in space, that's for sure. Like, question for House, what do you think of Hootie the Living Owl House? He's annoying. I don't give a hoot. Thank you, House. I think he fought the Doctor in a comic or was in one of the Star Trek crews. Also, I want to call out that the teenager's attempts to blackmail the teacher and Jason Goes to New York. Yeah, he can call that out. That was pretty awful, but she dies horribly anyway. Like, shame Freddy Krueger never travels to space. No, I think that might be a good thing. Usually when a horror franchise goes into space, it is always seen as a death nail to the franchise. Leprechaun did it horribly. Hellraiser, also kind of a bad movie when they went into space. A lot of people do not like seeing horror killers in space, but Jason X was one of the better ones. I saw this in Dead Meat. Yeah, Dead Meat actually introduced me to this. I didn't know this was a fan film for Friday the 13th until Dead Meat talked about it. I was like, ooh, new Jason movie? And yeah, it's this kick-ass fan film. Basically, Never Hike Alone is Kyle exploring the ruins of Camp Crystal Lake, finding a bunch of references and member berries before encountering Jason. Then it becomes a long Scooby-Doo chase of Kyle trying to survive. Kyle is actually an interesting character. He's badass, he's well-rounded. He actually is a professional nature survivalist, so there's a chance that he can survive his ordeal with Jason. And this movie has a ton of suspense, a ton of homages to everything great about the franchise, and a really cool story to boot. Kyle is basically running around Crystal Lake, being hunted by Jason, fighting Jason, trying to kill Jason, but Jason keeps coming back for more, and he stumbles upon a lot of references. He finds Mrs. Voorhees' severed head, finds a lot of the markers where all the camp counselors got killed, finds a lot of stuff that was from the past Friday films. I do love that they find a bunch of Roy Burns masks, hinting that Roy was easily able to get his own hockey mask, but also a terrible reference telling you that, yeah, the New Beginning is canon. So Kyle eventually escapes because he's saved by, are you ready for this? Tommy Jarvis. Yes, Tommy Jarvis, played by friggin' Tom Matthews from Part 6, actually returns, and yes, he is the biggest surprise of the movie. Tommy Jarvis is now like a medic, he's driving an ambulance, and he picks up Kyle, saving him in the nick of time before Jason can kill them. Jason, like, jumps the ambulance, kills Tommy's paramedic crew, but he and Kyle manage to escape, and yeah, I do love that Kyle could have easily, like, slid out through the back door, because he's, like, tied to a stretcher. But yeah, Kyle and Tommy manage to escape, and Jason follows them, leaving the door open for a potential sequel. Also, I want to call... Alright, read that one. Like, it is funny that 2 people die, Never Hike Alone. Yeah, the 2 paramedics are the only ones who die. It's mostly a tribute to everything Friday the 13th, but a fun one. If you're curious, I do talk about Never Hike Alone. There is a review of it on our channel. It's a part of the Wolf's Unknown series. It's basically our random stuff we review. I talked about Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow. Have not talked about the second one yet, but I will be for the first time soon. But I did give an in-depth review. I think it's great. It is a 10 out of 10 movie for me. It is fun. It is fascinating. If you're a Friday the 13th or a Jason fan, you will absolutely love this film. Yeah, I saw on Dead Meat 2. Part 3 is great, bro. It's my favorite in the franchise, better than the first 2. Nuh-uh, Part 2 is a masterpiece. Part 3D, kind of messy. It does have moments I like, but not one of my favorites. it says something when the fan films look better than the major budget movies despite being low budget. Yeah, that's what makes it funny. I freaking love part 3, made Jason to the horror icon we know today. They gave him the hockey mask and that's it. I think part 4 made Jason the horror icon. At this point, don't go to Crystal Lake at all. Yeah. It's interesting how people forget that the first villain of the franchise was Jason's mom, yeah, Pamela. She was the iconic villain. Despite being hugely popular, yeah, people will die if they go to Crystal Lake. Well, Tommy survived. Like, this look cool. Okay, to wrap up, Never Hike Alone, it is cool. It is awesome. It's very suspenseful, very well written, honestly looks better than a lot of multi-million-dollar horror films made today. There's so much love, passion, and effort, and surprisingly good writing for a Friday film, basically. Jason is cool, Kyle is a great survivor, you actually grow to like him and hope he wins, and Tom Matthews cameoing as Tommy Jarvis, just icing on the cake. Never Hike Alone is going up onto S tier. So I'm just drinking water to stay refreshed. Like Jason never shows in Dead by Daylight or Fortnite. I thought he was in Dead by Daylight. I know they got Michael Myers and Pinhead. Pinhead is in there. And Ghostface. Ghostface got a skin. Yeah, Jason's not in Dead by Daylight. I thought for sure he'd be. Okay, so after Never Hike Alone came Never Hike in the Snow. Okay. I think this movie is decent, however, it's a lot more flawed looking back at it. Never Hike in the Snow. Going on to Average Friday. Yeah, I know, I'm gonna upset a lot of people. Honestly, if you watch my review of this, I did like it a lot. It is a good fan film, however, I noticed a lot more flaws upon rewatching. Namely, it is definitely a middle chapter filler movie. Can you do a Dead by Daylight ranking? Sorry, I can't. I have never played Dead by Daylight. Freddy Krueger is there with Tokyo Ghoul, Springtrap, and Juno Ito characters. Yeah, I've seen my friend Emily Alucard actually does live streams, a lot of them Dead by Daylight related. Anyways, Never Hike in the Snow, I was really looking forward to this movie. I did give it a 9 out of 10, and I will stick to that. However, compared to the rest of the movies, it does kind of fall short. This was supposed to be a much bigger production and a bigger movie. The problem was the unspecified virus of unknown origin happened, and they ran out of winter time. The crew went to film this up in the snowy mountains, and the snow was melting. They didn't have enough snow for Never Hike in the Snow, and it ended up being cut short. And honestly, what I don't like about this movie now is that it tries to introduce another main character in the Never Hike Alone story arc. We meet the mother of one of the victims. Some guy, exactly like Kyle, goes to the ruins of Camp Crystal Lake to film his YouTube video. He's like streaming there, wants to see if the Jason legend is real. Unfortunately for him, Jason does show up and actually kills him. Jason kills this random YouTuber guy. He's killed up there trying to see the legend of Jason, and his death is covered up by Sheriff Rick. Yeah, Rick Cologne from Part 6, Jason Lives, actually shows up. If you don't remember, Rick Cologne is that douchebag cop with the laser gun. Wherever the red dot goes, you banged. Yeah, that's him. He actually returns in Never Hike in the Snow. Obviously a lot older, but now he's the sheriff of Crystal Lake. He tries to cover up his death and pretend that Jason Voorhees doesn't exist. We find out in the sequel that he does not believe in Jason and is effectively trying to erase history, pretend that the Jason Voorhees legend is all bupkis, it's fake, and rather illegally covers up this kid's disappearance. He tells the mother nothing, that they think he's missing. They're gonna comb the forest, but obviously he thinks he's dead. He's not gonna find him. The mom is like grieving, wondering what happened to her son, wondering who Jason Voorhees is, and that's kind of where her plot ends. Tommy Jarvis shows up, knows that the kid is probably dead, tries to kill Jason, but Rick comes in and prevents the plot from happening. Rick shows up, arrests Tommy Jarvis. This kind of goes nowhere, especially because Never Hike Alone 2 confirms Tommy got a normal job. But yeah, Rick arrests Tommy, takes him away, but Rick's deputy goes in alone, of course, and bumps into Jason Voorhees. He finds him in the cabin and dies a jump scare death, where Jason, like, covers up his existence by destroying his body cam and internet connection. It's kind of weird and honestly a clunky introduction to the third protagonist. Yeah, the grieving mom is a third protagonist. She plays a vital part in Never Hike Alone 2. In this movie, she's kind of doesn't do anything. She's just there, and I do like how they try to do a realistic reaction to one of the parents reacting to a Jason victim. Her son went there to Crystal Lake and never came back, and she's grieving, worried that he's dead, and we see her actually sad and crying over where he is, which is a good idea. Unfortunately, I did not see that as main character potential, but yeah, we set up the third main character, and Jason gets away to be the villain in the next movie. Like Never Hike in the Snow is cool, like we never see many Christmas or winter specials. That was fun, but they never use enough of the snow. Some interesting news: I found out that real summer camps, specifically those shown in movies, are apparently very horrible, where kids have to suffer horrible conditions, with there being a slasher coming after them. Like Never Hike in the Snow is cool, like we never see many Christmas. Yeah, I never see him. LOL, his last name is Cologne. Yeah, Rick Cologne, that's his name. Like urban legend, like to be respected without get the spotlight, like Jigogu Sensei Anube episode 6. Like the YouTuber died. Okay, so Never Hike in the Snow is not a bad movie. I stand by my score. However, it does pale in comparison to all the other top tier Friday movies. So I'm gonna put it right smack in the middle. It's okay. It's a middle chapter. It's basically paving the way for next movie. Never Hike in the Snow just needed a lot more snow and a much more polished plot. But for what it is, it's fine. So, let's do the grand finale of the Never Hike trilogy, Never Hike Alone 2. This one I have not reviewed yet, and honestly, there's a reason why, because I was not too huge a fan of this one. Never Hike Alone 2 is going on to Average Friday. Okay, I like it a lot better than Never Hike in the Snow, but that's about it. That's where the positives end. Tommy Jarvis is finally the main character in this one. Tommy finds out through Kyle's live stream that Jason is still out there, and it pretty much confirms all of Tommy's suspicions that he needs to stop Jason for good. Jason is not dead, he's still out there killing people, and we unite all three of the main characters in this one. Kyle, the YouTuber, comes back. The grieving mom from Never Hike in the Snow shows up as a main character, which honestly, I did not care for her. I did not really see her as main protagonist potential, but yeah, she's here as a good counterpart to Mrs. Voorhees, and Tom Matthews is back in the saddle as Tommy Jarvis. All three of them unite to stop Jason's rampage for good. Without there being a slasher after them, my bad. Okay. Like why YouTubers want to see if urban legends are real and never show up. They want that clout. Okay, Akira. Like, I see this movie where the power of Jason immortality. Yeah, so they confirm that Jason is immortal. How? Because his spirit is connected to his mom. Mrs. Voorhees' head is actually magic, and it's why Jason built a shrine to her. Her evil spirit is like keeping him alive, keeping him in this world, and compelling him. They all unite and have a final fight with Jason. And honestly, one of the things I felt was a huge misstep. Never Hike Alone 2 is literally happening the next day after Never Hike Alone 1. Or I should say, coinciding next to it. It's exactly like The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. It's literally happened the next second after the last movie ended. We see where Tommy Jarvis is in his life. He's a paramedic. He got a real job. He's working at the hospital. We see the grieving mom from Never Hike in the Snow is still depressed about her son's death, trying to deal with the trauma and move on. She and Tommy are kind of co-workers, and they find Kyle when he's beaten up badly from the first Never Hike Alone movie. Kyle is escorted, and we do pick up right after Tommy saved his life. Tommy's driving off. Jason is like still following him, and yes, Jason actually follows Tommy on foot all the way to the hospital where Kyle's being treated at. Yeah, no joke, Jason did indeed walk on foot following their ambulance all the way to the hospital for some Halloween 2 action. And Never Hike Alone 2 is kind of the Halloween 2018 of this saga. It is one of those future sequels, a whole generation of survivors coming to fight this killer, a big modern day final showdown. One of the older survivors from the old movies comes back to finally face their former nemesis. Tommy fights Jason, but this time he has backup. The new characters help him. They form basically their Avengers team, go to Crystal Lake and try to defeat Jason. Rick Cologne finally gets his comeuppance in this one. Yeah, a lot of people complained that Deputy Rick didn't die in part 6. He got humiliated and locked in a cage. In here he comes back and actually tries to redeem himself. Like, Sheriff Rick Cologne finds out Jason is real, buys them time to escape, and Jason kills him with his own red laser gun, like blasts his head off, like breaks his arm and shoots him in the head. Reminded me of the Michael Myers kill from Halloween Kills, where that lady accidentally blew her face off. But yeah, they go to Camp Crystal Lake, they steal Pamela's head, and get into a big final showdown with Jason. We get one last cameo of Ghost Mrs. Voorhees compelling Jason, and they destroy the severed head, meaning that Jason is now somehow vulnerable, and Tommy beheads Jason exactly like how his mom died. Jason gets his head sliced off, and it's lost in Crystal Lake forever. Jason is dead, all three of them survive, and we get a happy ending for Crystal Lake. The town is now reopening the lake. Jason is confirmed dead. We get like a cameo from Shelby's actor from part 3D. Yeah, what's his name? Zerner or something? Shelby actually appears as the mayor of Crystal Lake and tells the good news that Jason's gone. Our town can finally rest in peace. Tommy and Kyle have like a bro moment. They like hug each other, and honestly I didn't really buy it because this is like the first time they're meeting each other. Sorry, I got a text. Alright, so yeah, Tommy and Kyle like share a bro moment. They hug each other, even though this is the first time they're meeting. The mom finally has some closure. She finds her son dead and gives him a proper burial. And Jason is at last gone for good. Crystal Lake is free, and Tommy finally moves on with his life. Until we get our twist ending, where we see Jason's severed head is still alive. Jason's down there, but now completely powerless and incapacitated, rendering Never Hike Alone 2 kind of a remake and retread of Jason Lives. And yeah, that's kind of the problem I had with it. I was a bit disappointed by how Never Hike Alone 2 wrapped up and concluded. I did not care for the mother character at all. I do not care that they tried to make her a good counterpart to Mrs. Voorhees. It was interesting, but not well executed. Kyle feels really useless in this movie. He's kind of there just to help shift the plot. Tom Matthews as Tommy is awesome. He should have been the real hero of this. He finally gets to kill Jason. I like that he got closure, but it's kind of in that Halloween Ends way where it feels kind of artificial and very shallow, and Jason goes out kind of like a punk. He goes out anticlimactically. Once Mrs. Voorhees' head is destroyed, he's somehow powerless, but not really. He's still alive, and yeah, it ends on a very weird post-credit scene where Kyle's YouTube partner appears and says he's going to Crystal Lake next, hinting that the saga will continue. Sorry I'm late. Hey, Jon Snow, wrapping up Never Hike Alone 2, which is going on Average Friday. Yeah, honestly, I might not review this movie. I was gonna try to do a collab with Blacksmith Orange or Emily Alucard on it. Maybe even The Film Exorcist. Remember when The Film Exorcist was on this channel? Yeah, I was hoping to do a collab with someone on it, but none of my partners have responded or reached out. Some have just plumb disappeared like Emily. But yeah, Never Hike Alone 2, I am not in a big rush to review this because I honestly didn't like it all that much. I thought it was fine. It's not the worst thing ever. I can see other people really loving it, but me, it's just an average Friday. It is going right smack in the middle. Better than Never Hike in the Snow, but not one of my favorite films. You know, I might have to move up the original, at least. I did like that one a little more than Hike in the Snow, at least. Like it's awesome. So like Mother and Son, yeah. Is it as bad as the Star Wars sequel trilogy? No, absolutely not. Never Hike Alone 1 was awesome. The second one was fine. And 2, I think is decent. A lot of other people really love it. Me, I'm just kind of indifferent on it. I thought it was alright. Sorry, I catch up on comments without there being a bad slasher. My bad. Like, I see this movie where the power of Jason immortality. Yeah, the severed head gives him immortality. Or they're just crazy, like a tulpa, a spiritual energy, or talisman, source of dark magic. No, it's not as bad as the Star Wars sequel saga. The sequel saga is much, much worse. YouTubers going to Crystal Lake is the most predictable thing that would ever happen in present day. All we need is a fake YouTuber having their friend pretending to be Jason only to be killed. Yeah, that would have been funny though. Like it's awesome. So, like Mother and Son. Yep, sorry I'm late. Hey, Jon Snow. Well, I see a fine kill, but not deadly, as Bellows dissolving skin death and skull crush like a family picture. Also, have you ever heard of Happy Hills? A game that was a mix between Jason and Michael Myers. No, I have not, Monica. There are other horror movie references. It was awesome. How can he be dead? He's a slasher. They always come back. But yeah, he's alive. He's still alive. We see Jason's head breathing underwater. I guess his corpse has to find his head and reattach it. But yeah, they kind of end with Jason defeated. And it reminded me way too much of Jason Lives. Like, Tommy defeated Jason in the exact same way. He defeats him, incapacitates him, and locks him underneath Crystal Lake forever. And we see Jason is still alive, but just trapped. Like, agree. Do you miss anything from your old YouTube days? Yeah, when copyright wasn't a hard ass. Like it looked interesting movie. Wouldn't that mean his mom could also come back because of slasher rules? Yeah, should be, but doesn't happen. Like he's a zombie. Exactly. Jason's still alive because he's undead. Okay, so I wasn't a huge fan of Never Hike Alone 2. Honestly, might not review it. I wanted to reach out to one of my collab partners to do a crossover review on it, but none of them have gotten back to me. I'm sure Blacksmith Orange is busy. Emily stopped talking to me. Film Exorcist also went nuts and kind of disconnected her channel. But yeah, Never Hike Alone 2, probably not going to review it on my own accord. I have much more important things I want to review, like a bunch of Halloween specials. But as a film, I think it's fine. It's not one of my favorite films, and honestly, I was kind of underwhelmed because of how good the first one was. But Never Hike Alone 2, going on to Average Friday. Speaking of which, let's get the last fan film out of the way. The newest one, Sweet Revenge, a Jason Universe film. Yes, we have Sweet Revenge on here. Let's finally talk about something new. Sweet Revenge is currently out on YouTube right now. It is a quote-unquote short movie featuring the comeback of Jason Voorhees. A group of campers go out in the cabin in the woods. One of the women is getting married to her fiance, and basically they're throwing a wild party that they're in Crystal Lake, only for Jason to come up and crash the party. And Sweet Revenge going into Average Friday. Yeah, the new one, kind of a letdown, really disappointing. Okay, so this movie is not very long. It's only like 15 minutes, and it is a whole bunch of setup, a very short film, which barely has Jason in it. Can you do the Michael Bay one after this? Yeah, we'll do that one after. Sweet Revenge is one of the movies that I didn't know and James didn't know about it. Yeah, this one's really new. I believe it came out like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's currently up on YouTube right now. It's setting up the Jason universe, and this is their first pilot. We meet this girl who's going out on a camping trip. She's having a wild party with her fiance and their best friends. They're all out here on Camp Crystal Lake, getting ready for a big party, only for Jason to show up, and a lot of random strange things happening. Okay, so for a short film, it is slow. This one is really slow. Jason doesn't show up until the halfway point, and we never get a face reveal of him until the last 5 minutes. This short film is 15 minutes long, and Jason doesn't actually show up until halfway in and reveal himself fully in the last 10 minutes. The advertisement, let's put those chairs in the tier list. Feel like Crypt TV version of High School Meets Friday the 13th, and yes, it exists and not available on YouTube. Yeah, kind of. And we could actually see the comments in kids' videos and put them in small screens like the dislike ratio. Sweet Revenge is one of the movies I didn't know about. Yeah, okay, this one is a new one, and apparently the actual producers of Friday the 13th finally got the rights back and built this as their first project without dealing with Paramount's BS, and honestly, kind of underwhelming. We waited like 15 years for this. Sorry, just need some water. So, we get like a stock Friday the 13th pot. We get a stock Friday the 13th plot. All these characters go around the cabin, and Jason shows up, picks them off one by one, and unfortunately, most of the kills happen off screen. Like, no joke, almost all the friend characters are killed off screen. We meet this creepy, horny, old, like, pervert farmer guy. He, like, spies on the girl as she's lounging around by the lake in her bathing suit. Honestly, kind of pointless character because he also just shows up dead. The farmer dies, all their friends die, the party goers show up dead. Their, like, throats were slit off screen. One character is, like, completely hoisted on a clothesline in parts. Would have been cool to actually see this kill, but no. Jason shows up in the last 10 minutes, and we get to a bizarre twist. The girl runs to her friends and sees her fiance and best friend are having an affair behind her back. Yeah, really, that's a big twist. Her fiance, this weird black twink with a man bun, is having an affair with her supportive best friend. The best friend is a total bitch. She's like having sex with her fiance, and they were doing it behind her back. It's kind of a homage to the Michael Bay movie, how Killer Frost's boyfriend and the other girl were cheating on her. But yeah, basically she finds out her fiance is cheating on her with her own best friend of all people. Then Jason shows up, hucks her through a window, and finally enters the picture, and they have a big badass fight scene of Jason killing them all, trying to prevent them from escaping, and a lot of BS kills happen here. Jason has, like, a motorboat, and he slashes the fiance's face. Like, the boyfriend dies horribly. A well-deserved death, but yeah, death nonetheless. It's the coolest kill in the fan flick. Though, his best friend has a lame death. He gets, like, shurikened by a motorboat propeller, which I call BS on. The main girl actually gets stabbed through the floor and spine with the machete. She's, like, pinned down, and somehow doesn't die from this. It's like, bull crap. The one guy got, like, shurikened on the shoulder by a propeller, and that killed him. But this chick gets completely skewered with a machete through her chest and pinned to the floor, and she's fine. She, like, rips it out of herself, and she's walking it off. The bitch best friend who cheated on her almost gets away. She gets, like, a cookie cutter pressed against her face, but her best friend saves her. They make it to the car in time, and I guess in a twist, the final girl betrays her best friend. She stabs her best friend after cheating on her behind her back. Best friend gets skewered through the gut by the machete, and she crashes the car. And we end on a ambiguous ending where the final girl steps out just fine and gets into a final fight with Jason before we cut away to the end credits. Yeah, gee, a 60-pound-year-old a 60-pound college girl versus the big behemoth zombie Jason. Who do you think is gonna win? So, allegedly, there's a fan theory that the girl might have inherited Jason's powers. We see this girl was, like, jumped by Jason, pulled under Crystal Lake, and she doesn't come back out until nightfall. Some fans theorize that she gained Jason's supernatural abilities. That's why she's walking off, being stabbed by a machete and throttled by Jason, and how she survived not drowning, basically. That she kind of inherited Jason's powers, and she's going to become the bride of Jason or something, which honestly I feel really indifferent about. Just feels kind of stupid, and like they don't really have a plot. It's just there to sequel bait this Jason universe. Sorry, I catch up on comments. Wait, isn't that the slasher rules? Is that the married couple should technically survive? I'm not up to date with all the slasher rules. Well, they were gonna get married, but the boyfriend cheated on her, so yeah, they were adulterous, so that signaled death. Like, slasher weakness is they can't kill babies. Like, are they evil or have moral standards? I believe moral standards, Akira. Any Disney Channel show is your favorite via sitcom and animations. From best to worst, Jason. The Bride of Jason part is gross. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so apparently the producers are hinting that this girl is going to be shipped with Jason. Jason, FYI, is a 100-year-old rotting corpse slasher killer, and seeing him paired up with a normal girl just feels so wrong. People didn't like this in Part 3D, but Sweet Revenge is bringing it back. And yeah, this is why it's called Sweet Revenge. The final girl is the main character, and she gets revenge against her best friend for cheating on her. And that's where the movie kind of ends. They have a showdown and leave it ambiguous if Jason is gonna kill her or not, or they become partners in crime, which it didn't work for Halloween Ends. So why do you think it's gonna work for Jason Voorhees of all characters? I thought we talked about this in Thundercats. Yeah, we did. Mumra and Pumaira. Like, we have too many brides of the villain with Slappy, Chucky, and Jason. Don't forget Frankenstein's monster. Okay, so to wrap up, Sweet Revenge is kind of underwhelming. It's not one of my favorite Friday films, and honestly, it completely pales in comparison to the Never Hike Alone trilogy. Yes, even though I don't like 2 and In the Snow, they are miles better compared to this. The Jason universe is off to a rocky start. But I will give them some credit that it could be interesting depending on what they do with it, but I am not impressed by their pilot. It's going on to Average Friday. Alright, let's bump off Michael Bay's Friday the 13th, the reboot, the 2009 Friday the 13th, which, believe it or not, going on to Uber Jason. Yeah, I actually love this reboot. It is the only good Platinum Dunes remake I've ever seen. For starters, it actually feels like a Jason movie. Out of all of Platinum Dunes' terrible remakes, this is the one that actually got the job done. This one felt right. It felt like an actual Jason movie in modern day. It is a whole new reboot of Jason Voorhees, and pretty much repeats a lot of the plot points from Part 1 to Part 4. It's Friday the 13th for a new audience, and honestly a really good one. I liked it. The characters are all pretty goofy in this. We do have some asshole characters who die, but a lot of great kills. Jason is really fast, scary, and creepy in this one. A lot like his primal hunter self from Part 2. And plenty of hot chicks and sexy dudes galore. What? Really, Monica, you're surprised? Are you still going to do the Nightmare Hour tier list next month? Yeah, just gotta wait on it. Like Bronze and Silver Skull. For Sweet Revenge, I might give it a Bronze Skull. It's like a 5 out of 10. Unless she's his relative or became a slasher, she could only win by outsmarting him. There is no way she can outpower him directly. Exactly. The reboot is cool. Okay, so I actually do like the reboot. The lighting in this is pretty bad, and I know a lot of the characters are annoying. I can understand perfectly that you don't like the characters, but considering they all get skewered by Jason, it does feel like it's befitting of the Friday Saga. I do love Daniel Panabaker, Caitlin Snow from The Flash is in this, and Jared Padalecki plays one of the few likable characters in this. Yeah, one of the Winchester brothers is the final guy in this, and pretty entertaining. Yeah, I do like Jared. He is cool. He's badass. He's easily the character you root for in this, and Killer Frost is in this movie, and she's pretty hot. Julianne Gohl, also really sexy, and America from the beginning also gets a really nice nude scene. A lot of hot, sexy action, so that definitely won points from me, and honestly, I don't think it's that bad. It's kind of a basic Friday the 13th movie, but I do love the modern-day production values they poured into it. It does look like it does take place by today. Jason is a lot more angry, ferocious, and scary. He runs fast, he's always spying on people, has his underground tunnel system to explain his teleport ability, and a lot of the sets are really crazy in this, like the fight on the bus, all the scary wood scenes, and Jason's kills are pretty brutal. Yeah, I know, nobody likes to see a realistic Friday the 13th movie, but honestly, I don't think it's that bad. It gets all the check boxes of this basic franchise right. Jason is pretty cool. His hockey mask is very scary, very creepy. I think Derek Mears did a wonderful job being his own Jason, and Daniel Panabaker and Jared Padalecki are easily the most likable characters in this. I do agree, Killer Frost should have been the real final girl. She should have lived. Some fans are theorizing that she survived being backstabbed by Jason, especially because he was trying to recapture the sister and was prioritizing her and the Winchester brother over killing people. But yeah, that's wishful thinking. Frankenstein's monster's bride living is only a thing in the movies. She gets destroyed before being revived in the book. Yeah, but that didn't stop the movies from marketing her. Like, who produced the movie? Michael Bay did. Yeah, Michael Bay and his company Platinum Dunes made this movie. Bay is only a producer. He did not direct or write this. But yeah, the fact that his name is attached is kind of a red flag for a lot of people. I will say this is like the perfect franchise for Michael Bay to do because it has a lot of action, a lot of hot chicks, and a lot of stereotypical characters, which really fit in the Jason saga. Like why some girls never like summer camps and Disney Channel animations. They don't like nature. A lot of girls like to be preppy indoors and hanging out in air conditioning. Also, Jason Voorhees' clothing is very confusing. What is half the stuff he's wearing? I believe he's like trying to wear his Part 6 outfit. He wears like a big heavy jacket. He does wear the mask. The mask looks pretty cool. And I like that part that we don't see his face when he loses his sack. Yeah, that made him creepier. We catch glimpses of Jason's face, but never fully see it. I believe the producers were gonna have a face reveal, but they didn't like how the makeup looked, so they kept it ambiguous, which added a very creepy factor to him. Which one? Well, guess loses safe, never going to summer camp from whatever outside the box camp, have some Jason clone or not. Which Killer Frost? CW Killer Frost from CW's The Flash. Yeah, Caitlin Snow, Danielle Panabaker is the final girl in this. Or she should have been, but she got killed. Like I don't like summer camp since I just like Ollie, Timothy, our cat, Hate the Outside, and Kitty Hood. Yeah, I don't like summer camp very much either. It's really hot outside in the summer. I'm starting to think that the wood chipper is only there for intensity. Yeah, the wood chipper. Would have been so nice to see Jason shove someone through that, or if Jason died in it. But no, Jason has the final fight with the Winchester brother and his sister. He came here to find his sister. His sister was abducted by Jason, and I didn't find this a creepy plot point. Jason abducts a girl because she looks like his mom, Pamela Voorhees. Pamela Voorhees did die. Friday the 13th Part 1 actually happened, apparently off screen. Jason saw his mom get beheaded and took her head back with him, but she believes this teenage girl looks exactly like his mom from the locket he had, and took her hostage, and I found that very scary. Being held hostage and Jason trying to love her and take care of her, acting as if this is still his mom and they're still living normal lives, that is a very creepy plot point. Jason, kept her alive, and Jared Padalecki is here because she's his sister. He's trying to find her. They haven't found her body yet, so he believes she's alive and out there. They eventually save her from Jason, have a final showdown in the barn. There's a wood chipper going on in the background, and Jason dies not by being killed by the wood chipper, but they wrap a chain around his neck and drag him into the wood chipper, and it strangles him to death. Yeah, it is kind of lame, and Jason gets strangled by a wood chipper rotator, dragging the chain until it neck snaps him, and Jason is believed dead. They dump his corpse in the lake, but surprise, he was still alive, and he grabs the sister, leaving us on an ambiguous ending, trying to emulate the first classic, but yeah, it was kind of weak. Anyways, I do think this film is alright. It's dumb fun. It's interesting. Got lots of sexy hot chicks. Got a lot of brutal kills. Jason is still pretty marvelous in this film. And I do like the main characters. They are interesting and rootable, which is much more than I could say about Alice from part 1. But I actually don't think the reboot is that bad. I do think it's a fun Friday the 13th movie. So I'm gonna put it onto Uber Jason. Which Winchester brother? Who does Jared Padalecki play? I believe Dean Winchester. Yeah, which Winchester brother? I believe it's Dean Winchester. Jared Padalecki is the final guy in this category. I thought Jason taught the final girl is his mom's soul inside her. Yeah, that's why I like the plot point. Why bother killing him with the wood chipper? His heart will survive anyway, lol. Well, to set up a sequel, which has never happened because apparently this reboot didn't do all that hot. It was not the worst Platinum Dunes has suffered. I do think the Freddy remake is a million times worse, but it didn't make enough money, and they didn't make a second one. Critics did not like it. Friday fans did not like it either, but some have grown over time to appreciate it, and I'm definitely one of them. I do like this reboot. I think it's dumb fun. It's cool, Michael Bay, better movie than Transformers and TMNT, absolutely. Was he trying to do a weird adoption thing, or what was he planning? I believe he was trying to take the sister back and recreate his life with his mom, trying to carry on like things are normal, but he has her chained down and trying to force her and teach her to accept this lifestyle, submit to acting like his mom, even though it's very clear she's not his mom. Jason is mentally challenged and insane in this version again, so I believe he wants to keep his mom safe. I think the helicopter was a bit overkill. Well, another tier list done, or should I say redone. We do have one more. We have Freddy versus Jason. Jared Padalecki portrays the character Sam Winchester. Okay, my mistake. I've not watched Supernatural. Okay, so anyways, I think the reboot is good. I'm putting it on to Uber Jason. But let's end this with a great high note. Freddy versus Jason. The ultimate crossover. Surprise, I've not changed my opinion. It's still, if my computer will ever load up. This one, going on to S tier. Yeah, I love Freddy vs. Jason. It is badass. It is cool. Robert Englund's final performance as Freddy is wicked. And wouldn't you know, his great epic send-off fighting with Jason is also super badass. It is S tier. It is a kick-ass crossover. A million times better than Alien vs. Predator and Godzilla vs. Kong. Jason is cool, Freddy is cool, the soundtrack is cool, the kills are savage as heck, a lot of the CGI, some of it has aged, but some of it also has held up, a lot of the suspense is really high, and it's hilarious that Dipper Pines from Gravity Falls is the final guy in this. The big crossover. Yep. Freddy Krueger fights Jason. This one is carrying off the plot point from Jason Goes to Hell, the one good thing from that movie. Freddy has recruited Jason and needs the people of Elm Street to fear him. Imagine we get an alternate ending and the Jason and the teenage girl play along. I was mostly confused which one this movie is good or bad with the reviews. Yeah, some people don't like the reboot, but I think it was pretty good. Like, Freddy vs. Jason looked cool, but I have a problem with the themed movie. Ah, you didn't like it? Okay, Akira. Okay, so Freddy vs. Jason, really kick-ass crossover. Freddy needs the children of Elm Street to fear him again. Freddy is suffering the embarrassing loss of Freddy's dead. He has been permanently killed and forgotten over time. The people of Elm Street are trying to move on from him, trying to erase his entire existence. So Freddy summons Jason and sends him on a mission to terrorize Elm Street to bring back the terrifying old painful memories of his existence. Jason basically acts as Freddy's puppet for the first half of the movie. He kills people and reminds people that Freddy Krueger used to be the slasher in this neighborhood. Freddy is regaining his powers because he needs people's nightmares to be powerful, to be the godlike dream killer we all know and fear. Who plays Freddy Krueger after this movie? Jackie Earle Haley. Jackie Earle Haley could have been a good Freddy, but yeah, he was in a god-awful film. By the way, Beast Boy's actor got fired by Warner Brothers due to his Parkinson's disease. Yeah, that is total BS. I do not approve of that. Okay, so Jason is killing in Freddy's name, basically. However, once Freddy regains full power, when people remember Krueger's existence, and he's back to his full godhood mode, Jason doesn't stop killing. Jason is pretty much taking over Elm Street, forcing Freddy to intervene and try to call off his own attack dog, leading to the big epic showdown between two of the greatest horror icons of all time. Freddy and Jason are basically fighting over control of who gets to do killing in this neighborhood. A lot of people are killed in the crossfire. We follow a group of teens who are trying to set things right, trying to kill Freddy Krueger off for good, and send Jason packing back to Crystal Lake. There's a lot of fun kills in this. I do like the guy got sliced in half by Jason Voorhees. My friend Jon Snow really liked Gibbs. Unfortunately, she didn't make it. She ends up raped and being impaled. Freddy Krueger gets a lot of good kills in this. Jason gets even more brutal kills in this, killing off a lot of random red shirts. My favorite is Jason twisting the idiot bully's head in a total 180. That was a really neat kill. Jason killing at the party in the cornfield. Really awesome shot. Eventually it leads to a final fight. Freddy almost kills Jason, but they bring Jason back to Crystal Lake and awaken him so they can bring Freddy back into the real world, leading to a fight in Crystal Lake. Yep, they fight in both Freddy's boiler room, on Elm Street, in Weston Hills, and finally at Camp Crystal Lake. Jason's brought back to his home turf, and Freddy gets serious in this final showdown in the real world. Robert Englund really hams it up, but that's what makes him so funny. He and Jason have a really kick-ass brawl, but eventually both the killers die, and they both get their good licks in. We see the best of Freddy and see the best of Jason, and a lot of people did not like the ending because it teases that Jason won, but Freddy like winks to the camera hinting that this is all a dream. It's a kind of confusing ending. I can see why a lot of people didn't like it, though I thought it was fine. As some people in my chat and comments point out, they do theorize it was supposed to be like a tie game. It's a draw. They both kind of won because both are still alive in the end, but I thought it was really cool. Oh, I get it. That actually explains what Doug's joke when he reviews this movie. I like the movie, but Freddy vs. Jason fight makes no sense. Like, the survivors should have left the fight. They should have, but the final girl wanted to make sure Freddy died. They try to link the final girl in with Freddy Krueger. Her mom was killed by Freddy, and she finds out, like, her dad, like, took the fall for it. So she wants to, like, avenge the death of her mother and make sure that they both die. Yeah, the Freddy Caterpillar form was weird. It was. Really hokey effect, but really funny Alice in Wonderland reference. I do like that they brought back the demonic possession from Freddy's Revenge. Yeah, that actually does come back. Freddy uses his caterpillar to possess the stoner guy. Correction, he was fired from the role of Beast Boy. He's being recasted as a different actor, but still sad. Yeah, that is BS. Who's gonna play Beast Boy now if Greg Sipes is gone? I suspect it might be Roger Craig Smith, but his voice will not match. He's like gonna use his Sonic voice for Beast Boy. Also, the original Pamela Voorhees was going to be in this movie, but didn't because of her dialogue. Yeah, Betsy Palmer turned down reappearing, which is sad because she passed away not too long after. Why does Freddy always use a boiler room? It's implied to be where Freddy used to work. Freddy was like a factory worker. He used like an abandoned section of the boiler room as his hideout to make like his serial killer weapons. So, a stalemate. Yeah, kind of. I miss Robert Englund as Freddy, but every actor has to retire from a character sometime. Also, he did a nice little cameo in the show The Goldbergs. Caterpillar? Yeah, Batkid. Freddy Krueger turns in like a caterpillar in a dream sequence. He's the smoking caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland in like the stoner guy's dream. He like lures him away into a separate room, and then he possesses him, kind of like a Exorcist style monster. The caterpillar jumps him and crawls into his mouth, and it's how he takes over the guy in the real world. Yeah, Freddy Krueger has a lot of fantastical magic powers. And I agree, Shadowlink, Robert Englund is awesome, but hey, Freddy vs. Jason is one hell of a high note to end on. Robert Englund played Freddy Krueger technically last in this movie. This is the last canon Freddy Krueger movie, and boy did he end on a great film. I love this crossover. To this day, I still think it kicks ass, and it definitely ranks highly among my Friday the 13th ranking. It is definitely an uber Jason masterpiece. And yeah, Jason has done great in this too. Jason is really cool, but Robert Englund pretty much steals the show in this. Nevertheless, it's still uber Jason good. And as you can see, that pretty much completes our tier list. Finally talked about them and included all the fan films this time, the Never Hike Alone trilogy, and Sweet Revenge, which was pretty average. Like only my sister and me are not scared of horror movies, but my mom is scared. Well, they have a lot of blood in them. Maybe real life is scarier than fiction, and we are done. Yep, we did it. We ranked them all. Take one last snapshot of all the Friday films. I'll go over it one last time for any of you late birds showing up now, or for those of you who just skip click to the end to see the ranking in full. But yeah, talked about them all, and we actually have a lot of good Jason movies. S tier is pretty much full with all the best ones. And yeah, some mid-tier ones, but we got the two bad ones at rock bottom where they belong. But yeah, we'll go over it. Alright, so the movies that go to hell, the worst of the worst, the bad Friday flicks. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Was there really any doubt? This one is trash all the way through. Talked about it in greater detail in the last year, but yeah, my thoughts have not changed. It is the worst one. Followed up by Jason Takes a Boat to Manhattan. Yeah, false advertising at its worst. It is a letdown. You can completely skip this one entirely. Do not watch it. It is just as bad. It has some few moments better than Part 9, but not by much. These two are the worst Jason flicks. Then Friday the 13th Part 3D is on You're Doomed. Has some good ideas, some good moments, some iconic characters, but overall, I think it's pretty bad. The 3D effects are garbage. They ruin this movie completely. I don't care that Jason gets his hockey mask in this one. A lame movie is a lame movie. It's going on You're Doomed. Like next time for tier list, and we are done. Like shame Jason Voorhees never have a cartoon series. Might be hard to get an R-rated cartoon off the ground. Anyways, average Friday. Sweet Revenge, I was not impressed by it. It's a pretty mid-pilot, nothing very interesting, and it takes too long for Jason to show up. The New Beginning. Yeah, I do like some things about this. Tommy's storyline is great, and all the sexy nudity is fun. However, Roy Burns is the worst thing to happen to this franchise ever. Never Hike in the Snow. Yeah, it is the weakest of the Never Hike movies, and unfortunately that's because of the production problems. I did like some of it, and it's not a bad film, but it's also nothing special, especially next to these masterpieces, going on average. Friday the 13th Part 1. Yeah, it's fine. That's really all I have to say about it. It's fine, not one of my favorite movies. Betsy Palmer's as Pamela Voorhees steals the show, but she shows up very late in the movie, so I'm putting it onto B tier. Then Never Hike Alone 2. I really wanted to love this movie, but honestly, it kind of became an average one. I didn't love it, didn't hate it, but also not really into it. Also, might not review it because it didn't really sway me all that much. Tom Matthews returning as Tommy definitely is fun. He's cool, he's great, but the movie is very slow and the story is kind of clunky. I did not care for the mother's storyline, but I'll put it onto Average Friday. It is still much better than the rest of these. What is with movies and emphasizing 3D in their titles? Like we have Mystery Inc. have a Jason mask. Yeah, they did beat him on Robot Chicken. Since HBO Max could make it look like Velma, since it sucks. Okay, only one in Awesome Party, and that's Part 7, The New Blood. Yeah, Jason vs. Carrie, it is dumb fun. Has some scratches which do kind of ruin it, but Kane Hodder is at his most awesomest, and the fight with the psychic girl is pure joy. I still recommend it highly. We'll put it onto Awesome Party. But now, our top Jason flicks. Who made Uber Jason the S tier? Jason X. Yep, love it. It is fun. Jason in space killing people on an Enterprise ship is just pure joy. Pure dumb fun. I love it after all this time. Don't care what the haters say. It is an awesome, out-of-this-world experience. Never Hike Alone 1. Yep, kick-ass fan film. Loved it when I first saw it, still love it now. Check out my review if you want me to word it better in greater detail, but honestly, it's still good. The reboot, Friday the 13th. Yep, I am one of the few defenders who actually like this movie. It is one of the few good Platinum Dunes remakes. It gets everything right about this franchise. Sure, it's not as good as these top heavy hitters, but I defend that it is another fun entry. The final chapter, which wasn't really the finale, but still pretty good. The beginning of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy is so awesome. A lot of great kills, a lot of heart, a lot of love. It perfected the Jason formula, and for that, I still think it is one of the best entries on this list. Freddy vs. Jason, one of the greatest crossovers of all time. I love this movie, love Robert Englund bouncing off of Jason. Jason is pretty cool in this. He's not as major as Freddy, but that did not take away from how awesome this clash was. It is my third favorite of Jason's movies. Friday the 13th, Part 2. Easily the scariest horror movie I've ever seen. I love this one. I think it is still creepy to this very day. A lot of it still holds up wonderfully well, and I think Jason is at his most horrifying in this one. Don't care what anyone says, I like the Sackhead Jason movie. It is my second favorite. But number one has to go to Jason Lives. Was there really any doubt? It is the greatest Friday film of all time, a proper conclusion to the Tommy trilogy, a great dumb fun horror flick, and an all-around good time for slasher fans. Jason Lives is my number one Friday the 13th film. There was a Carrie crossover. Yeah, technically that was Part 7. They didn't get the rights to Carrie, but she's Carrie in all but name. Alright, so got that, people. Jason Goes to Hell sucks. It's rock bottom bad. And number one is Jason Lives, the coolest Jason movie of all time. Kinda bat kid. Bye, cat. Bye. No, sister, the psychic girl is Tina, not Carrie. Basically, she's a stand-in for Carrie. Agree, or I like to call it, Tina says, now eat this, sucka, and it was peak. Is the Batgirl tier list coming this week? Hopefully Friday or the weekend. Bye, everyone. Great video. Thanks, V Scorpio. Okay, so take one last snapshot of the tier list in full. Sorry, there's an ad blocking, but it's okay. It's only the bad Friday films. But yeah, that completes my tier list. We talked about them all. The bad, the good, and the Jason Goes to Hell. So, I love the Friday the 13th saga. As you can see, it's still pretty good. Finally got to talk about the fan films. Might not do Never Hike Alone 2. I wanted to do it with a crossover partner, but they haven't contacted me back. And Sweet Revenge, I just didn't care for. I just didn't like it all that much. I think they could have done better. I'm looking forward to what the Jason universe might do next, but the pilot is just pretty average. But yeah, we talked about every iconic Friday the 13th story. What will be our next tier list? Possibly the Batgirls. I want to rank all the Batgirls. Scarecrow and Ivy are gonna have to wait for later. Doing Scarecrow around October time. Batgirl might be a fun idea, or She-Hulk. Akira wanted to do that one, and I think that'd be fun. Black Cat might not have too many interpretations, but yeah, might do Batgirl, might do She-Hulk, waiting on Poison Ivy and Scarecrow. Until next time. Just wanted to say, I've been watching you since October 2019. Thank you for all the entertainment. Can't wait for more. Thanks, Tails Doll. For videos, my top 10 Treehouse of Horrors is on Patreon right now. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait until October to see it public, but yeah, it's available, and Wolf did an anime review in depth. It's Patreon exclusive right now. Working on some Halloween surprises. Don't want to give away any of them, but yeah, working on some big Halloween vids, hopefully coming out soon. Wolf might be back on another tier list. I'm trying to get Wolf to do another Ranger tier list, but we'll see. But we'll see where the future takes us. Thank you all for joining us. So I'll finally set you guys free. Thanks for watching our new round updated Friday the 13th tier list. So let's finally cut the strings. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I'll see you by the lakeside.